Yes, indeed, we are back. And we are live, ladies and gentlemen, live on a Friday. So that means one thing, Freaky Friday is here again. It seems like the blink of an eye. There's going to be lots of laughs, lots to think about, lots of woo, and lots of me, Scotty, Nacy, and all of you. Ah, you like that one, Scotty? You like that? How you doing, man?
Doing good. Yes, another Friday is upon us. The woo shall floweth forth from the cup, and the chalice of woo, I guess I should say.
The chalice of woo. Tonight's going to be jumping into the river of woo, choosing which road is for woo. Oh, dude, it's going to be really awesome stuff. What you been up to all week, man? Missed you, dude.
Just kind of dealing with a little bit of like an allergy, a little bit of a cough. Nothing too serious.
I like to hear, bro. That's what I like to hear, man.
And shout out to my mom. She had her tooth pulled today at the dentist. So
never pretty. Those people are actually like accredited mouth perverts, if I can even make that phrase. Who grows up, right? Who grows up wanting to hoke about in other people's mouths? What does that? What is that all about? You know?
He'll be a dentist. He has a knack of causing people pain.
Big time, dude. Big time. Listen, nothing against any dentists that might be listening live or tuning in after the fact, but dearie me. Whew.
And shout out to the dentist. My mom said they did a pretty good job and everything, you know, so. But, you know, it does, it makes you think, like, I've thought about that before. Like, there's just certain, like, professions, right, where it's like it takes a specific sort of individual to be in that profession and do that thing. And it's not just like a dentist, like a mortician, let's just say, right? Like, not anybody can just be a mortician, you know.
Dude,
I mean,
in my opinion, there should be one visit to the morgue, one visit only. Any more than that, you're getting a bit creepy. You shouldn't be going in and out those places, let alone working them, right?
I mean, my aunt, she's a mortician.
No offense to Scott's aunt. Obviously, I meant no offense.
No, but see, that's what I'm saying. And my aunt's a lovely person. She's really nice, but it just takes a certain kind of person to be able. I mean, just like it takes a certain type of person to be an EMT, right?
Oh, big time, dude.
I mean, your average person doesn't know how to handle a situation like that, right? If you come upon a car wreck or a tragedy or, you know, something, most people can't handle that. But then, you know, to go in there and be professional and, you know, do your job and all of that, it's just like, you know, it takes a certain type of individual.
You've got to be a certain level of cray-cray. You've got to be able to cope with that. So I dare say there's a lot of laughter to be had when you're not in a situation. But to go back to the dentist for a moment, Scott, I want you to consider this, right? Because this came up in the conversation last night. Shameless plug, brilliant show. Evan and Stephen Strong were back. But we talked about the alien skulls last time, right? And this time they were talking about teeth. The teeth that come from these skulls, and get this, as opposed to ours that have the two kind of prongs, okay? He was talking about a three-pronged thing, and instead of it like being tapered so you can pull it out, this thing was like designed to kind of curl into the bone. So imagine trying to extract something like that, dude. Imagine the agony if that thing did ever have to go. You know?
Oof.
Nasty. We think we've got it bad now. I'm telling you.
Maybe they were just thinking not to come out, like, you know.
What were you thinking, Nacy? What were you thinking?
I'm not right now. I just got that spectacular green hit. But I was thinking about that when they were talking about how the roots angled outwards instead of tapered in, like you were saying.
Yeah, like
and it makes me think. Man. It makes me think. In order to have such a solid, sturdy tooth, imagine what they were ripping and eating apart have teeth that needed to be so immobile.
Yep.
It makes me think of the tales of, let's just say, extra carnivorous activities. You would probably need chompers of a significant size, right? And haven't there also been reports of some of these skulls having like double rows of teeth as well?
Certainly
instead
have,
of
my friend. There certainly have. Yes, lots of tales of that. 6 fingers. Yep.
Makes me think of all of the
What 6
LA
fingers for?
zoos.
Better to catch the extra curricular materials you need.
Yes, and makes me think of a certain cave in Kandahar, and
Oh, the Kandahar, man. The Kandahar boy. There's a part of me,
Well,
there's a big
there's
part of me, like, sorry, Kev, but there's a big part of me loves that story. There's another part of me is very, very skeptical. But then
of
there's
course,
another
of
very
course.
uncomfortable part as well where just what if? Do you know what I'm saying?
Say, that's what makes that story really fascinating, right? Like, I mean, we'll never know for sure, obviously. I mean,
I will continue to tell the story. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole Kandahar giant thing. I mean, that's way out on Speculation Island, and it's always going to be on Speculation Island. However, if it is true, like you said, that's
Well, it's like one of the older rides at Walt Disney World or somewhere like that, right? Still popular. You still go and visit it, and just like this topic on Freaky Friday, people will still go around there. They will still have a look at that, and definitely the giants. I mean, Nacy. I mean, we were talking about giants and things. Many times we talk about the giants, but I think there's got to be just a little bit too much smoke for there not to be any fire. That's my opinion, you know.
Well, a quick recap for those that don't know. Allegedly, in that area, there was a military company or group that came upon a giant and got into a fight with them, and it took a lot of people to get something accomplished. But yeah, check that out. I totally recommend that. It's definitely enjoyable to learn of it.
Well, you know what we'll do before the end of the show. I was reading, obviously got Brad Olson's book recently, and he includes a little paragraph or two about that, Kev. So later on in the show, I'll dig it up, right, and we'll have the reading of the Kandahar giant, because, you know, Jimmy Jeans, I think he's out there in Chatland right now, he brought a wonderful book to the Kev Baker show the other night, The Smoky God, A Voyage to the Inner World or Hollow Earth. And, you know, there's something about retelling these stories. Scott, this thing, I swear, I mean, if I have ever heard it before, then it wasn't the way that I'd read it out this book. And wow, dude, we only got maybe 4 or 5 pages into it, but this was, listen, as a story, wow. Now, can I prove much of what's said? It ties in a lot with what we've looked at in the past. Admiral Byrd and all this good stuff. And I don't know, dude. I don't know, but these stories need retelling.
Yeah, I mean, that's
we need
what
to hand
makes
them down, right? Hand them down to the next generation of Wooster.
the next generation. What would you call see, we got Zoomers, we got Boomers. We're gonna have like woo.
Yeah, wooers. Well, Cliff I says that we're moving into the time of woo. So I suppose the next generation, they say, would be the woo generation, right?
Oh, absolutely. And to add, you know, my ancestors, we talk of giants, which is ironic to me because what I was told is that my ancestors were considered the giants because they were allegedly over 7 feet tall, the men, and the women were over 6 feet tall. And there's also story of when my ancestors had that extracurricular carnivorous activity.
A brilliant phrase, isn't it? Scotty Lopez. That's a Scotty Lopez-ism. There you go.
Scotty-isms.
I like the whole kind of, it's kind of like more medical sounding, a Scotty Lopez-ism. Too many Scots in the world. I want to distinguish him. I mean, look at me and you, Kev. Kevin squared. I mean, come on. We've got my son in the background, another Kevin. My brother Kenneth is listening. That's the Irish for Kevin, and I think mine's Scottish for Kenneth. It gets all weird and confusing when you have this many versions of the same people, right?
Yeah, and this afternoon I was pondering what was it that Pearl was thinking about when she said, "Hey, I'm going to call him Kevin."
You want to laugh?
Because
you want to laugh, Nacy? Because this ties in with what you're saying. Anne had this conversation with me about 48 hours ago. She's like, "Why did your mum call your brother Kenneth when you're a Kevin anyway?" And I think it was kind of like, it's not like we were 2 or 3 years apart. I was already moved away to college and the army and stuff like that. So I think it wasn't as impractical as it sounds on the tin, because there was only one of us in the house at the time. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's how I explain it anyway. My mum's listening right now, and she's probably thinking, I've got no bloody idea, because we all get confused. You know what I mean?
Well, I can't remember why. I remember at some point that I talked to my mom about it, but I can't remember why. And here's the other synchronicity or irony. I told you this, Mr. Lopez. My brother's name is Scott. And so there's something about Scott and Kev, or Scott and Kevin.
My best mate,
that just kind of goes.
My best mate's called Scott. Yep. So that's another Scott we can throw. Frank, my stepdad's got a son called Scott. Oh, it's all getting confusing now, boys, eh? Yeah.
Right, and the letter S is the number. No.
Oh, he's going to get his geometric calculator out. Listen, boys and girls. Wookiees, time travelers, interdimensional creepers. 13 minutes in, and time to remind you, you're at the home of Freaky Friday, tfrlive.com. We're going out on YouTube today as well. We're going out also on TalkStream Live, Paranormal Radio app. And coming up right after today's show, never fear, more information is near. And this time it's going to be even deeper woo, because it's Brent Thomas, and he's going to take you through the paranormal portal. And I think before I head on over to the chat room at tfrlive.com/chat for the Wookiee roll call, Nacy, this would be a perfect chance for you to get really shameless out there and tell people where you're going to be next week, right?
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. Of course, for being on Freaky Friday with the two of you is always such a delight. And may I remind you, gentlemen, how much I love you. And
I love you too, by the way. TFR, I love you too. Yes, I love you too, Kevin. There you go. We have to embrace this more emotional side of things, Scott. It'll become apparent as we go on. Don't worry. Sorry, Nathan.
It's quite all right. But next Friday, I will be on with Paisley Wild. I think it's called The Spaces Between. Excuse me, missed the mute.
On this timeline, it's now called The Spaces Between for sure. While Kevin is hopefully going to be okay there. Yes, Nacy is going to be hanging out with one of our other shows on the network next week. It's going to be, you get your Freaky Friday, and then you get Brent Thomas. And then I believe, Nacy, that Paisley comes on right after Brent. Would that be correct?
That is correct.
You okay
11
now?
o'clock.
Good man.
The eyes are watering, but I wasn't that ready to come back.
The eyes are watering, Scott, but there's still nobody home. So we'll let Nacy recover, right? And I'm going to head on over to the chat room here. Let's
11 o'clock to 1 o'clock Central Standard Time, TFR. Spaces Between with Paisley Wild. Thank you.
There you go. You got it out there in the end. We'll have to do that again at some point, eh?
He's a soldier. He powered through it.
That's what I like to see, man. Like the Enterprise powering its way through a nebula. Yeah, I was watching Star Trek again last night. What can I say, So anywho, over in the chat room, we have got, it's dead quiet in there today. I'm feeling quite lonely. We're all lonely in there. Come on, people, head on over to the chat room. We've got me, we've got Sophia, no wonder people talk. We've got Bam, C. Graves, we've got Gemini, V-Lash, Waffle Buddy, Daryl Bowles, Daryl. Wow, I think Bam as well, I think Carol. A lot of these people have been hanging around here as long as I've been on the network, as long as the network's been a network. Isn't it?
Those are some OG listeners, man. Like, those are names that I consistently remember being in the chat from the very beginning, like since I've been there. So shout out to all the OG Wookiee Cave.
And 2 secs, Scott. 2 secs. Now, I'll get back to. I'm actually right. I'm not being rude. I'm messaging with Evan from last night's show, so I'll come back in a minute. And Nacy, you enjoyed last night, right?
Oh yeah, that was a spectacular show, and all of you listeners, you have 1 week to listen to it again, or to check it out for the first time if you go to tfrlive.com. And it's definitely worth your precious moments to check it out.
Yeah, that I'm sure that was some fantastic woo and information. Anytime Kev has our friends from Australia on, that is an absolutely fantastic conversation. And I'm still blown away by our conversation we had with Luna and Ani and
Mike and Wayne. Yes.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a woman's show coming up soon with Luna, and then I think they're in the works of a men's show with Donnie. So we're going to get more of those Aussies to join us, because the synchronicities of what's occurring, I don't know about you, Scotty, but I'm noticing them more and more. And I'm not a big fan of the word coincidence, and I do believe in synchronicities. And this is kind of part of where we're talking about with the show this evening. And to segue back when we were talking about morticians and that time of ending or beginning, what happens? You know, what goes around comes around. So if that's the expression, does that mean we're going to come around again? Shall we come back? You know, I'd like to. Why not?
Speaking of synchronicities, I watched an absolutely fascinating video on YouTube from this channel called Veritasium, and I'm sure probably some of you out there have heard of it.
That rings a bell, dude. What was the video, man? Was it good?
Oh my God, dude. It was absolutely mind-blowing. And it was specifically talking about synchronicities. And the scientific, the science is like really studying synchronistic behavior, and it's found all throughout the universe, and it's found on all levels of, you know, from the micro to the macro. And it's a really, really fascinating thing. So, like, for example, if you have 3 metronomes, right, and you start them at different times, right, so they're like out of phase and they're not clicking together, right, you know, but well, you know, one's clicking, you know, they're not synced up or whatever. But if you bring them close together, if you put them on a board and you bring them close together, they will eventually, slowly over time, they will start ticking in phase together, and then they will synchronize. And you find this synchronization, it occurs like all over. And so you know how they tell soldiers to break step when they walk over a bridge, right? Because the they're synchronized in their step or whatever. I guess like an opposite thing happened where the bridge started swaying a little bit, and then everybody walking across the bridge was compensating for the bridge swaying, and they fed into it because then they started synchronizing with the bridge, and they ended up amplifying the effects to the point to where the bridge almost collapsed and they had to shut it.
Once you've been taught to march,
yeah.
I mean, I was only in the army, over 4 years, but yet I find myself when I was working doing security, totally not even conscious, and the other guy's never been in the army, but when we were out on patrol, 9 times out of 10, you would end up taking the same step without even thinking about it. I used to actually break it because Naysay would probably know. Last thing you want to be doing when you're not in the military is acting like that, and the brainwashing you call it. But I'm actually thinking there might be more to it, because it's as if, like you say, the natural order is for things to be synchronistic and balanced,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, everything's synchronized,
you know.
And then it got into like how that same synchronicity and like falling, like matching of the phase and all of that stuff happens at a molecular level and an atomic level, quantum level. They were talking about how it plays into how the moon, orbits around the suns, and I think it was like
no moon talk.
The moons of Jupiter and all of that, how they're in a synchronistic phase with each other, like their rotation. They synchronize in a certain, frequency or a pattern or whatever. And so it was really, 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 really interesting. And so I thought, wow, it's mind blowing, right? How, like you said, it just seems like everything at some level, it finds a natural balance and a natural frequency.
Well, it's like when we were talking with the guys, again, back to that. I'd never really thought about it this way before. You look at everything else on the planet, every other animal. A cat's a cat. Okay, you get different colors of fur and things like that. It's still pretty much a cat, right? And you look at other things, a monkey's a monkey. And, if you've got a bunch of monkeys, it'd be hard to know them all apart. You see what I'm saying? Yet humans, okay, we talk doppelgangers and things, but totally, totally uniquely individual, It just shows how magical, how special that we actually are. There you go. You see? Because it'd be pretty crap. Look at the aliens, dude. What's a grey look like? How could you tell one grey apart from another? What's the reptilian look like? Well, probably they're all going to look the same, right? But yeah, us. A grand assortment. A grand assortment. That's what we are, Nacy, isn't it?
One thing that Scotty made me think about with the synchronized marching is the Tesla exponential synchronistic, what did he call it again? Remember he had that thumping machine that he could herd to the building.
I was just about to bring that up as well. They say it was making me think about the resonant frequency generator that Tesla built. And that's what they were also discussing in the video, is because this is, the synchronicity thing, it has to do with resonant frequencies and all of this stuff, and how you can match up frequency phases and stuff like that to do all kinds of weird things. And so, yeah, you're right. I mean, Tesla almost brought that building down with a resonant frequency generator.
And then if we ponder how cycles come around and around again, that we ourselves, we have cycles within cycles inside of us, whether it be our nervous system or our circulatory system, our lymphatic system, it's all a cycle. Electricity, once you close the circle, it becomes a cycle. So if this energy that is Kev or Scotty or me, if it at one point is exactly what it is now, then you'd think with the randomness and the odds factor that we're going to come around again. But when will that be?
That takes
will
us
it
nicely
be in another 20 years?
That takes us
30
nicely
years?
to the break, dude. Nicely to the break, and nicely sets us up for potentially, have we been here before? Me, Nacy, Scotty, all of you out there, past lives, reincarnation, near-death experiences. Wow. We could get into a whole cornucopia of woo from here, boys. But it's going to be 3 minutes, and then we'll be right back. There we go, and I didn't hang up on Nacy, Always a bonus on a freaky. There we go. Yes, indeed.
So yeah, I mean, it's just it's mind-blowing stuff. I was also watching some more. They're finding out more information about black holes, which I always find interesting. I always like to dig into any sort of scientific information that comes out about black holes, because it's weird stuff, man. When you get at that level and physics starts breaking down and things start.
You see, that's what I laugh at, though. That's what I laugh at. They say physics breaks down. Well, that's because our understanding of it is very limited.
Yes.
Very limited, you know?
Yeah, when they say physics breaks down, what they actually mean to say is that our understanding breaks down.
Yep.
You know, we don't know. Not it's not that the physics is breaking down. It's our mental capacity to
speak for yourself. My mental capacity is just fine, thank you. It's just what it needs to be. I think an IQ of 50 does anyone in this day and age.
They you know how they used to always believe that information was lost once it went into a black hole? They don't believe that anymore. They believe that the information is still there, that it can be retrieved.
After I upgraded to a Woogabyte of data storage, I have total access.
That's what I like to hear, dude. That's what I like to hear, man. What's it been telling you? What information have you retrieved from the event horizon, Nacy?
Well, the only thing it keeps saying is, you can't tell anybody.
I see that. That's just see. There's always some kind of universal paradox kicks in, man. I'm telling you. It's built into the code. It's built into the system. It really, really
but
is.
But it makes me ponder on that whole thing about knowledge is power. And who are you going to give that power or knowledge to? Because who knows what they're going to do with it?
There's an exception to every rule, because knowledge definitely doesn't run my computer. Nah. But it does, right? But it does, because without knowledge there would be no computer and no electricity. Well, you see.
At what point did they look at the brain and they said, oh my God, the brain is, let's call it a computer.
Dude, did you see the little chimpanzee playing Pong on the Neuralink? Oh no, legitimately, honestly. Yeah, we'll take a look at that as we go on. Yeah, we'll do it in the next break or something. Yeah, seriously, 3 minutes sitting playing Pong. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ping pong or the old Atari
Pong?
Pong?
The old Atari Pong, dude. Sitting there playing Pong. Neuralinked up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That came out yesterday. Yesterday it was. Yeah.
Cuckoo Kawoo.
My boy brought me that. Tear of pride in my eye. I'm thinking, didn't fall far from the tree after he denies he's into my woo, right? I need to be careful in case he hears me, but I'm telling you, I'm getting them there, boys. I'm shaping them. Kev 2.0 is coming. Yeah.
He was born in the woo. He was steeped in the woo.
He was always going to be attracted to the woo, wasn't he?
He was forged in the. He was forged in the woo.
Yeah, not in the womb, but in the woo. I love it, Scott. I love it. Here we go. Here we go. Got a show to do, I suppose. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Second part of today's Freaky Friday right here on TFRlive.com, TalkStream Live, YouTube, Paranormal Radio app. If you go to any of the apps outside of TFR, just look for TFR on the network there. But of course, we want you to go to the home of TFR at TFRlive.com, and we've got a chat room over there as well. And there's 33 shows. Kevin will be on his calculator up there again. But right after this one is Brent Thomas, so we'll tell you more about that as we continue. Before the break, Naysay, you were talking about cycles and the energy that's you, that's me, that's Scott. If we've been here before, you know, maybe we've done it many times. What's your take then, or what's the Anishinaabe's real kind of take on this, Naysay? Talk to us a little bit about past lives, incarnations, wherever you want from there, bro.
Well, one way that I explained it in a metaphor is that I think of this huge clear sphere that's filled with billions of other clear spheres. And it's almost like a gumball machine where you put a sock and you open it up and you fill up the sock, and that sock is Scotty. You get another sock and you fill it up, and that's Scott. That sock is Kev. And then when we're done, as all of those clear spheres gain all of the frequency or the colors of Kev or of Scott, then it gets residue in those spheres. And so then when the sock is done, then it gets poured back into the big, huge sphere. And then another sock gets filled up. And as this continues, the cycle continues, all of these different spheres get different residues, a residue of either Kev or Scott or me. And at some point, when so many spheres that have residue of Kev again, and it gets put into the sock, all of a sudden when that new sock starts having reflection of, wait, what was that memory? Why do I have this memory? Why do I have this draw to Australia or to Cambodia? And then all of a sudden you find out, you know, like there was a child who was having dreams about flying a plane, and he was having nightmares about being shot down in a plane. And then he started telling his parents that, hey, my name used to be such and such. And then they started questioning the child more and more. And next thing you know, you find out that he's having recollections of an individual that I believe was shot down during World War II.
That is an amazing story, isn't it?
Right. And so then they go and investigate it more and more. And then they find out that this kid is literally, or allegedly, remembering these memories, and his old squadron, he was able to point out faces and say, this is so-and-so, and this was so-and-so. And he was correct.
Yep.
You know, and my ancestors, we talk about with our seventh fire prophecy that the children of the time are going to be reborn from the past. And when they come back, they're going to have memories and questions that they're going to start asking the elders about. But the elders have become sleepy or they've forgotten. And so we're going to have to look at these children, you know, to regain that knowledge. You know, and this is the nostalgia of it, the romanticism, the sexy of reincarnation. You know, it's cool. You know, and I've shared with you guys before. I've had a couple, you know, dreams, visions, thoughts of ponderings of, is this a memory of the past or was it just a dream? because it seems so blatantly real in the circumstance, especially like when you start researching things and it's almost like, okay, did I read this somewhere? Did I hear this somewhere? And that's why it came into my dream, but the synchronicities of all of it is just, too incredible to just gloss over.
Yeah. No. I mean, the whole, I like the way you kind of presented it. And I also think, we're all quantumly entangled, right? So I think that quantum entanglement also can be stronger depending on, just, I think that's also where a lot of stuff like bloodlines and everything plays a role, and why that's extreme interest to a lot of certain individuals as well, because if you can preserve a bloodline, then you're, in a way, you have a stronger connection through that, like, genetic memory, right? And that entanglement to the past. So I think that's why a lot of certain I guess you could say the powers that shouldn't be or whatever. Look, now I'm going all naysay tonight and bringing up the powers that shouldn't be, but I think that's why they have an interest in those kind of things, and I think that plays a role in this whole like reincarnation thing and remembering the past and stuff like that. And think about it, like when we went through the Renaissance, right, and we had this great enlightenment where people started all of a sudden there was an explosion in like technological and scientific advancement, that pulled us out of the dark ages. How much of that do you think probably was just individuals that were remembering things from the past, technology of old that we once had, and all of a sudden there was a reawakening in people's minds for whatever reason. They were remembering, like you were saying, they say you're going to have these young people that are remembering things, and the elders are not going to really know, right? So you're going to have to look to this younger generation of individuals that are for some reason enlightened, and this knowledge is coming to them. So I mean, it makes you wonder, how many times have we been through this in the past, right, where we've either forgotten or and then all of a sudden there has to be this like reawakening, this renaissance or something that brings everything back. I don't know. It's weird. It's weird to think about.
You mentioned the Australian thing, Nacy, and we've been doing the shows there for a while now. A big part of that whole kind of, I don't know if I'd call it an awakening or a remembering or a calling, but there was a book, we had Bruce Fenton on the show with Jess and Dan, our archaeologist friends from down under. And Bruce has written a couple of books, but he also sent me his wife's book, and that's by Daniela Fenton, and it's called Hybrid Humans, Scientific Evidence for Our 800,000-year-old Legacy. And I've got a bookmark in it. And it really stood out way, way back at the time when I first read this. And listening to you boys talking and thinking about the shows we've been doing lately, the Freaky Friday from Australia and everything. I picked this up again today and I looked at the bit I'd kind of marked out, and it was chapter 3 that's marked. It's called Past Life Memories and Alien Messages.
No.
And it starts with a quote. And this isn't me saying this, but this is just a quote. It doesn't even name who it is. You have to read on to get it, right? But says, now I have the mission to tell people of the distant past and convey the information given to me by others. This is to help bring an understanding of who and what we all really are. I think that's what we find ourselves doing time and time again on this show. People out there that are here, you listen to other shows as well. And I think we are, starting to rapidly, some of us anyway, get those little jigsaw pieces that we're starting to put together that might well be reconnecting the stories of the past to the times of today and to where we're going in the future. It's crazy, man.
Well, there's too many things, you know. I mean, there's too much there to just say. I mean, if you look at all of the stories from many different cultures and all of the evidence from all around the world, right, that we definitely know that there was a lot more to our past than what we're being taught. You know, I think we can all agree on that. I mean, what was that past? I mean, well, then that's where you have many different theories
Lord
and
of the
ideas.
Rings, baby. Lord of the Rings meets Star Wars meets Superman.
I think we can all kind of agree that what we're taught in school about history is not what went down at all. And there's just way too much evidence out there to show.
Yeah, I think there's big gaps. I think there's big gaps. Definitely, there's got to be like huge gaps, you know.
And then even mainstream science itself ends up proving itself wrong, right? They always have to go back and go, oh, this site was a lot older than we thought it was. And then they end up going back and going, well, oh, it was even older. And then when it starts to become an inconvenience to them and they go, then they just kind of like start making up excuses and whatnot to try and justify their mainstream sort of narrative of it. But
and we're always finding out new stuff, you know, just on what you're saying here, Scott. This article was yesterday, I think. Bulgarian cave remains reveal surprises about the earliest Homo sapiens in Europe. Surprises. Because we do know a lot. Listen, I'm not taking away from what people do in their particular fields, and we know loads. That's what's got us to where we are today, but that doesn't mean that there's still a whole lot more surprises waiting out there for us to fill in the gaps, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we've literally just scratched the surface on any of this stuff. And even, you know, like carbon dating and all of that stuff is not, it's not a 100% science. You know, I mean, there's flaws in carbon dating, and so you really can't go by that, and that's also why they have to revise a lot of these things, because a lot of their initial carbon dating was wrong, and then they tested it again later with more, I guess, more advanced techniques or whatever, and found that it wasn't right. And even these newer techniques, maybe they're not correct either, you know. And it's just, yeah. And I mean, look, you got sites like Göbekli Tepe and the place over there in Peru, what is it, like Pumapunku, with the H blocks and all of the, you know, these massive megalithic structures with perfectly machined, you know, 90-degree angles that we can't even do today. And
chicken bones, Scott. Chicken bones for chisels.
Yeah.
One thing that I always
oh, go ahead, man.
One thing that I always find so disheartening is when you learn of the history of America and you find out that there were literally thousands and thousands of mounds throughout North America. And when these early settlers came in, they were all about, well, we need agriculture, we need fields, and so they would just destroy them, you know, without any remorse, without any recourse, you know, to what happened. And then when you learn about the Native American Religious Freedom Act of 1978, where it became illegal to dig into any mounds without contacting the local tribe and stuff. And I believe my theory assumption is because they were finding all of these anomalies within these burial mounds, because these mounds are what they were using to, to put the bones of the dead. My people, the Anishinaabe, once you died, they built a nest in a tree. And we're talking back, over 200 years, when there were trees that were over 130, 140 feet tall, the great northern pine tree, and my people lived in these trees. They utilized these trees. And so they would build a nest in the tree, and then they would put the body in this nest. And then a year later, they would come back and they would gather all the bones, and then they would bring it, and then they would put them in a certain pattern, and then they would bury them in the mound. So the mound would just get bigger and bigger and bigger as the years progressed and progressed.
Well, what did you make of that yesterday then, they say, when we heard that one of the mounds that got dug up in Kentucky, they found the skeleton, the strange skull again, but it was, the head was rested on what would have been a slab of mica stone. And it's not even like, you don't get that stone in the area. So it was obviously some kind of particular reason for that. And in the back of my mind, and I'm glad I remembered, I was going to ask you, Nacy, if that's anything that sounded familiar to you,
Well, this is exactly what has happened in St. Paul, Minnesota. Up on the bluffs, there is called Mounds Park, and it has been a place that I was drawn to my entire life, to the point of when I was old enough and I knew about it and stuff, that I would go there specifically and hang out. But it's these burial mounds, and what I learned is that entire hilltop, or that rivers bluff, it's like a bluff that's right along the Mississippi River, that whole entire area was nothing but burial mounds, but then it's got all developed and everything, and there's still 3 permanent mounds that are there, and this is where it's so disheartening. Imagine how much we have lost in historical information by the devastation of these mounds, or the blatant, like it was purposely, we cannot let people know about these mounds because, and I mean I don't mean to be dismissive about Christianity, but any information in the New World of America that was against the dogma of the church, it was not allowed to be released because it was heresy. So a lot of this information didn't get released because of that suppression of information.
Yes. Imagine what we have lost, so it's true.
And I think that goes all throughout history as well. I mean, think about all of the things throughout history that have been destroyed through invading forces, or throughout conquest or anything like that, right? You've had probably lots of stuff throughout history just wiped out and destroyed, and we'll never know, right? I mean, think about like the ancient times as well, when you would have some kind of a conquering force or something take over in Egypt, and they would erase all of history, right, from the previous dynasty or the pharaoh or whatever before. They would destroy their statues and try and erase everything from history, right? And I mean, think of the word history, right? His story. History is told by the victor, right? We're
Victoria, or Victoria, since we're woke.
Yes, I guess
you get
so.
It? You get me, man. You get me. I know it was a crap joke. I know.
No, we'll just call it Victor X. Right?
Victor X. I like it, man.
See how woke I am?
No gender question there.
Exactly. Very, very inclusive.
You know, say Latinos or Latinas, it's Latinx now, so we'll go Victor X. And yeah, so no, you know, history is told by the victor, and you know, so we're taught a distorted version of history, and I think that goes for at any point in time. You're probably taught a distorted version of history.
And you think about it, right? You think about it because we talk about the gaps that are missing, Scott. And if we're right, because none of us know if anything's right in the end of the day. You know, there's very, very little that I would set in stone. But maybe we contain the entire story. Because if we've been here multiple times, and granted in the past there's been lower populations, but maybe at this time, I mean, I'm not saying we've been around every single rise and fall of civilization, but I think now everyone that's ever been here for even one goes back again. But maybe it's in that junk DNA, maybe it's in the odd 90% of the brain we don't use, you know?
At some level, we have this innate feeling that something isn't right, and that there's something more to what we're being told. That's the issue, right?
Are
and
we paranoid, or are we just overly paranoid, and do we think too much?
I mean, maybe that's built into us. I mean, maybe that's a trait of our species. But you know what? That's a trait that has got us to where we are right now. If you think about it, we're the apex species of this planet. Whether you believe that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I don't know. Now that I've seen that monkey playing Pong, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I really don't know. I worry about this, you know.
Are we about to lose our apex status, Kev? Is that what's going to happen?
We observe social media, Scott. I think the monkey is slowly overtaking us. The Pong one.
You know what's hilarious?
What if we? Sorry, go ahead.
No, Nancy, go for it, man. Go for it.
What if we are being like the Elohim and modifying the primate to create the next human?
Well, it's like when we done that show the other night with Jimmy Jeans, we were talking about these huge beings inside the Earth, Scott. And I'm thinking to myself, well, how do we know that wasn't the Anunnaki? You know, we're told they came down on a planet and everything else, but how do we know literally where they came from? And everything was in gold down there. That's what really got me thinking. I'm thinking, so they're into gold down there. We were up here taking gold away for big people that lived on a planet that just happens to come around every couple of thousand years or so. So we're all looking up in space. I don't know, maybe they're right below us, dude. You know?
So you're gonna go with the underground
Anunnaki
theory.
within.
Ooh. Okay.
That's an idea. It was an idea.
No, I mean, look, you know me. I totally, I'm down for the whole cavernous Earth theory.
This went beyond cavernous Earth. This was big monster ships sailing at like bullets, man, and dude, it was great. It was like, and they're all covered and everything's in gold. Big, huge dudes.
You know, I think
one thing
I'm going to send you, Scott, an ebook. It's fascinating. Nacy,
one thing that I always ponder about that Anunnaki story and the whole gold thing that if these entities have the ability to transverse the universe, you don't think they know how to quantify gold and make it?
But we assume, or that would make the assumption that they've got the materials or whatever to do it there. If they're from another world, Nacy, again, see if they're from another world, if they're even real. But maybe this place is kind of special and we see these things flying about. I don't know, dude. I don't know. But it makes sense if they are highly technological, Scotty. You know, and they're like flying about in machines that are highly technological. It doesn't make sense that they would have their own metal, right?
I don't know.
We'll explore it on the other side. That's what we'll do. There you go. No, you're right. See, there's so many different ways of thinking about it. It's...
The question is, at what level of technology were the Anunnaki? I mean, were they blipping out of stargates, or were they a species that had reached the speed of light and just lived a long time, and so the speed of light wasn't so much of a problem for them because, hey, 400 years is probably not, like what, 20 or something to them. I mean, you've got to take that into account as well. And so if they were like an interstellar species, but they were traveling at the speed of light where it did take them a long time or something to reach where they were going to go, they probably would still be at a level to where they probably needed resources or needed gold or something to extract from a planet. I mean, there's different levels of, I would say.
Well, listen, if we keep going the way we go, right, we're going to eventually run out of resources. So at that point, we're probably hoping we're able to take a hop to other worlds. And I would imagine we would probably start doing what the Anunnaki were accused of here, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would think that if you would think of the evolution of, I mean, I'm already kind of getting into it. I'll kind of get into it again after the break, but
yes. How's the weather there, Scott? How's the weather? We'll leave them. We'll leave everyone hanging. But before I forget, big thank you to everyone on YouTube. We forgot on the last break. I promised as well to show something real quickly. I think I sent it to Scott, but I'll pull it up here as well. Just so people know that I'm not making this up, and I wouldn't think you would, but. Oh, go away. Come on. Here we go. There it is. On one of the videos, it shows you, that's just a little GIF there, right? But you see the actual brain wave, the brain monitor, the signals and things. Probably in here.
This is Pager. He's a neural activity as Pager uses the joystick to move a cursor to targets presented on the screen. As he's playing this game, we're wirelessly streaming, in real time, the firing rates from thousands of neurons, output from the decoder to move the cursor instead of the joystick. Pager still moves the joystick.
Where's the palm?
We've removed the joystick altogether. Now that he's up to speed, let's increase the difficulty and see how well Pager can play with the Neuralink.
Now, obviously, I've cut big chunks of that out there, folks. You need to go and check that out for yourself. But you get the gist, right?
Yeah, I see exactly what they're doing with this. So they start out with the monkey using the joystick, right? So the monkey gets used to using the joystick, and they map the neural patterns for, like, when the monkey's going left, they'll map the pattern for left. When the monkey's pushing the joystick right, they'll map it for right, up, down. But then when they remove the joystick, the monkey's still thinking about pushing the joystick, so he's firing those neural patterns, and it's being translated to the screen. So the monkey just has to think about moving the joystick without actually moving it. And it's controlling. Oh, yeah. So
do you remember
interesting
the remote control cockroaches?
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember if that was like 2006, 2007.
Yeah. They put little tiny PCBs on the head of the cockroach and was able to control them around.
Exponential rate of technology.
Here we go.
Do we know where we're going?
Here we go. Back to the Anunnaki.
Oh, I sent you something,
The
Messenger,
network.
Kev.
Yeah, I got it. Yes, indeed. How are we doing? Hour number 2 on today's Freaky Friday. Hope you're all doing well out there. And just before the break, we were getting into the land of the Anunnaki. Oh, the Anunnaki. Can't beat a bit of Anunnaki, Scotty boy. Nacy was talking about the gold factor. You know, so we were just about to get into it during the break, but we thought, well, we'll hold it. We'll just pause there. So I'll hand it to you. What's your thoughts on their technology, the Anunnaki, and why did they have us going down tunnels in Africa to get them gold?
Well, this is the whole brilliance of gold, because I've only learned recently that the reason why we have like different carats of gold is because they needed to add metal to gold because gold is so pliable. It's almost like a putty that you can literally shove your nail into it. And so they needed to add metal to it so it can be made into jewelry. You know, so then it makes me ponder about the whole mercury and how we're utilizing gold and mercury and silver into the electro components of space flight and technology, with computers getting better and better and better. And so if this is the case that we have with technology, if these entities have the ability to transverse across the universe, then why would they not also have the technology to just quantify gold and reassemble it, just like the, Star Trek in the replicator? It's 24 karat gold, please.
Well, you see, since I was watching Star Trek last night, Scott, you see, sometimes the dilithium and things runs out, or some component you need. Something goes wrong, you got these exploders out there. This. Listen, I'm just saying, I don't know. I can't really answer that.
And like I was kind of getting into during the break, but I was gonna save it for when we got back. But no, it would depend on the level of technology in which the Anunnaki were, right? I mean, you would think that there would also be quite a few different levels of spacefaring civilizations as well. Maybe they were only at a level to where they could reach light speed, and maybe because they lived for so long, or they were able to cryogenically do so, put themselves in a stasis, or just because of the length of time in which they lived, traveling at the speed of light wasn't a problem for them. But they still needed resources, right? That maybe they didn't have that replicator technology or anything like that, and they still depended on mining resources from solar systems or different planets or whatever. I mean, you got to think about it. Like if you look at us, for example, if we eventually become a spacefaring civilization, we're going to be at a level to where we're mining asteroids or hopping from planet to planet, utilizing the resources from that planet. So I mean, we just don't know exactly what level of technological advancement in the whole interstellar spacefaring species that we don't know what level the Anunnaki were, right? I mean, maybe they were just hopping from planet to planet and needed resources before they, shot off to another solar system or whatever. Who knows? Or maybe they just existed in our solar system. Who even knows if the Anunnaki were from an entirely different solar system? What if they were just from a planet that no longer exists in our solar system, or is still on a weird elliptical curve in that, or orbit, and then that brings in the whole Nibiru stuff and all of that talk, but of them coming back.
Well, let me say a naysay then, right? Because reincarnation, the past life thing, can this tie into this? And the reason I kind of say that sounds weird, but if this is the simulation, as I call it, the creator, we're all created from the one source, right? So does that mean we can maybe have an outing, an adventure in another type of biological skin suit, for lack of a better term? Long story short, could we have been the Anunnaki at one point? Do we have to reincarnate as being human?
Well, I've made this statement before.
Ooh, open the chasm of woo, Scott. We've opened a whole new door. Yeah.
But, I've shared it before. If you look at the etymology of the word Anunnaki, it is parallel to the etymology of the word Anishinaabe. Even syllabically, they match. Now, if the Earth, or this planet that we're on, wherever we are right now, if the boundaries of this existence have a certain criteria to it, to me, logically, when we escape this skin suit and that essence, that energy of us goes to where it goes, there's part of me that believes it cannot escape the electromagnetic pull of the Earth without outside interference. And so if there's another planet out there, let's call it Planet X, which is now the asteroid belt. If this planet was full of entities, living, breathing entities, not by the same parameters that we are, but still living, breathing entities, and their spacesuits or whatever were taken away, and that essence went elsewhere into space when the planet blew up, could it follow its core that every now and then comes back again? And this ties in with yesterday when they were talking about it, about Homo sapien was the easiest species to reincarnate with. And we look at some of these ancient, and it brings up Zachariah Stitchin, when he talks about the Anunnaki holding these Copic jars and holding these little humanoid figures on their lap, where they're saying that we were created, what if we were created because these skin suits that we have are the best holding component to all of these essences of these people that were blown up on their planet. And so they've been slowly technologically changing us and manipulating us so we become the perfect vessel for all of those lost souls that are just out there in the ethos.
Ooh, deep woo, man. Deep woo.
Deep woo.
So Nacy, do you have any recollections yourself of any of your past outings here?
I think the one that I have shared before is when I thought I was, and strangeness, of course, that I thought I was some kind of doctor for like a priesthood or some kind of physician that had
I thought you were
the
going to say
priesthood.
Dr. Zhivago. That would have been pretty cool.
Dr. Moreau.
Doctor Who.
but the memory, I can't remember specifically when the memory like flooded back and hit me, but it was when I was researching about the embalming techniques that they utilized, and they were showing all these different tools that they had. And there was one tool that it was like a big rod about like 12 inches long, 14 inches long. And at the very end of it, it had a hoop like an ankh. You know how like the top of the ankh looks like an upside down teardrop. Well, in the center of this shaft, there was a hole and a plunger. And we would take copper and we would put it in that hole, and then we would plunge it through. And when it went up to the ankh top, it would make the copper wire go into a curlicue, like a corkscrew. And what we would do for the harem of the priest or the leaders, they had a harem, and they did not want anyone in the harem to get pregnant with the seed of the elite. And so we would just like a woman going to her gynecologist, we would have these women on a table in front of us, and we would insert this tool into their cervix, and then we would plunge this little, like, 2-inch piece of copper into their womb, so it would prevent them from getting pregnant, because only certain women were purposely purposely grown to be the receiver of the next seed of the elitist.
Wow.
And this is the reoccurrent. Well, it's not reincarnate. It hasn't. I haven't had that.
Well,
that
I've
vision
got
or
one of
dream
these
for a while.
onks up here. This one, it's similar to one Jimmy sent me the other day. Now, I see the whole onk, the Egyptian thing, but you know what else I see in there? I see a bit of a Tesla tower going on, a bit of a Tesla coil. I see the thing that Kevin's talking about as well, potentially with the hook and then the bit on the bottom too. Interesting that you bring that up, dude, because that's something Jimmy Jeans randomly sent to me the other day. That kind of thing. Synchronicities. It's what we're talking about, you know?
But the biggest challenge that I have is being my worst critic. You know, because, you know, I was raised in America, went through the public system, went to university, and I was conditioned to be who I was. However, in the experiences that I've had, all of that knowledge I learned in the school system, it can't explain some of the things that I've experienced. And I've wrapped my mind around it. So who knows? Could I be wrong? Anytime.
What about you, Scotty? Any vague memories? Think you've been here before, man?
No, I'm be honest. No, I haven't had anything like that makes me think I lived a previous life or anything like that. I haven't had any of those kind of dreams. Or, I mean, it would be interesting, like, if I to go to one of those sessions and see if I could have like a past life regression or something like that. But I've never had like a dream where I felt like I was somewhere in the past, or that or something reoccurring where I felt like I was no, but I believe that it's possible, no doubt. Obviously, I mean, just because I haven't had the experience doesn't mean I don't think it's a legit thing. The thing that I find really fascinating is the birthmark thing, and how the birthmark ties back to the way the person in a previous life passed away, right? Yeah. So, like, if a person was shot, right, they have a birthmark in the area where their previous life was shot, right? And there are also some really, really interesting cases of reincarnation, I guess you could say, in India, and even Mahatma Gandhi actually helped, like, it's like officially certified in India as a legit, you know, they recognize it in India as a legit reincarnation. And so, yeah, and I think one of the real famous incidents in India is of a girl who said she remembered being a woman in her past life and that somebody had killed her, right? And that she knew who it was that had had killed her in a past life or whatever, and it was a unsolved murder or something. And the little girl went to some farmer dude and was like, "You did it. You killed me." He's like, "What? What are you talking?" But then
I had that conversation recently, Scott. I know how that farmer felt.
Great segue.
A bit too close to home here, Scotty boy, with the stories I've been getting told. Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, and then it literally shocked him to the point to where he confessed to doing it. So this little girl, was reincarnated, her previous life.
Solved her own murder.
She solved her own murder, dude.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. Now, listen, that we'll get into why that was comfortable for me at some point, right? But not right yet, because I want to back Scotty up with some info here on the whole birthmark thing. I was going to suggest, I was going to ask Scott, do you think mole's turn, that could be something too? But it is. And I just found this, easily found. And it actually comes from the Journal of Scientific Exploration. And it's by Ian Stevenson from the Department of Psychiatric Medicine at the University of Virginia, School of Medicine, Charlottesville, Virginia. So it's called Birthmarks and Birth Defects Corresponding to Wounds on Deceased Persons. It's like a scientific paper kind of thing. It's like almost nothing here. It's just the abstract. It says almost nothing is known about why pigmented birthmarks, it's got moles or nevi, occur in particular locations of the skin. The causes of most birth defects are also unknown. About 35% of children who claim to remember previous lives have a birthmark and or birth defects that they, or adults informants, attribute to wounds on a person whose life the child remembers. The cases of 210 such children have been investigated. The birthmarks were usually areas of airless, puckered skin. Some were areas of little or no pigmentation, that's called hypopigmented macules, and others were areas of increased pigmentation, and that's hyperpigmented nevi. Now, the birth defects were nearly always of rare types. In cases in which a deceased person was identified, the details of whose life unmistakably matched the child's statements. A close correspondence was nearly always found between the birthmarks and or birth defects on the child and the wounds on the deceased person. In 43 out of 49 cases in which a medical document, usually a post-mortem report, was obtained, it confirmed correspondence between wounds and birthmarks or birth defects. There is little evidence that parents and other informants imposed a false identity on the child in order to explain the child's birthmark or birth defect. Some paranormal process seems required to account for at least some of the details of these cases, including the birthmarks and birth defects. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
And Jules in the chat, I concur. Who knew that Virginia had legit scientists out there doing some actual, trying to figure out some really.
Back in '93, it was a simpler time. Time.
Yeah. 93, yeah. But no, I mean the whole birthmark thing. Yeah, that's
fascinating, dude.
What to me, I mean, this is just my take on it. To me, it's almost like it's like a shock in the genetic memory, right? You've created an imprint of a very, very traumatic sort of incident, and it's left an imprint in the genetic data or the genetic memory, or even the quantum entanglement of that person. And so, you know, if they come back in, you know, if they're reincarnated, or if this person who is quantumly entangled with them or somehow is connected with them, they're going to have that imprint as well. And that imprint comes in the form of a birthmark, you know, because that's, they're tied to that person at such a level to where, you know, they have their memories, they remember, you know, all of that stuff. So
maybe just a humble little mole. Maybe that just signifies you've been. Maybe it's a mark. You've had a go.
Yeah.
Because some are, you know what I'm saying though? Because some are kind of like wishy-washy, a little insignificant. You know, maybe that's just like one you carried with you. You know.
Maybe the mole is just
people
like you said,
everywhere now frantically thinking, holy shimoly, how many moles have I got? Whoa.
Okay, are we ready for some more from the naysay perspective?
Come on, man, go for it.
So as you are reading that, I'm taking a drink of water, and you started talking about the moles, you know, and I literally started coughing on my water because I have over 500 moles. Thank you for counting, Fatima. And when you started talking about that, I got this flashback of all of those moles all over my body were like smallpox or chicken pox or some kind of pox all over my body, and I was dying.
Whoa, man. Whoa. Well, it could be one of these shows, is it? Now then, Scotty boy. Hold on tight, right? Because I got a story for you. Man, oh man. So, we got the whole me weird with Donnie thing going on. We hadn't had the conversation about how Donnie knew me and all that stuff, right? You remember that? Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, Donnie was giving me an opportunity to kind of try and remember what I needed to remember, but didn't happen. So, jumped onto Discord one night, and Naysay was there with Donnie, Luna. I think Jules might have been there as well. I can't really remember too much because I was blown away. But Donnie informed me why it might be. Why it might be, because I don't yet know myself, but I've got no reason to disbelieve what Donnie's telling me. But the reason I might be familiar, and there was an awkward familiarity to the way I felt about Donnie, right from the really start. Like, not something I really wanted to pursue, but it was there. And for somebody that's into woo, to have a feeling like that, usually that'd be the kind of thing where I'm, wow, me and you're connected, we're entangled, all that kind of stuff, right? But no, it was a different one. So we end up talking, and Donnie brings up the name of a place in Australia, and it's called La Perouse. Now, La Perouse, back in the 1700s, was when the French had a colony there. And Donnie, he remembers one of our past, I don't want to say walks together, this was more of a crossing paths, I would imagine. But Donnie came into wherever I was. He wasn't Donnie at that point, and that wasn't me. And whatever happened, I stumbled upon Donnie. And it's even quite uncomfortable even telling this again. Naysay, you can kind of add to this because you've talked to Donnie deeper about this. Long story short, caught Donnie stealing whatever he was doing, and he runs away. But me being me, I picks up the gun. And Donnie remembers me shooting him in the back. Right?
Whoa!
So that's why when you were telling the story of the little girl who like accused the farmer and things, kind of felt that bad when I was hearing that part of the story. But there's another time. There's another memory as well that we'll get into. And they say before we go to the break, before people think I'm going mad, this isn't something I'm making up, Nacy, is it?
Oh no, absolutely. And I was so privileged to be there because we talked about it before. And this is one thing that is so incredible about the disco that we all dance at every now and then, is there's this feeling of familiarity that a lot of people are having where we're so comfortable sharing all of these things with each other because we feel like we've known each other. And so it's almost like we're reconnecting again, because after the break, you'll hear more.
You will hear more, yes. Dang, it gets deeper, folks. It gets deeper. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. Yes, that was a little uncomfortable, that one, Scotty, I must admit. But like I say, Luna was trying to she gave me a really good technique because I said, if I start trying to remember, I don't know if I'm remembering or my imagination's a real powerful tool. But Luna was saying, well, you can tell if it's your imagination because everything's all there, it's all rendered, you can see it, it's all happening. Whereas if it's something you're genuinely remembering, it might just be one thing that you remember first. Like a smell, something, and then it builds from there slowly. You don't get it all in once. So I've been trying to do that, but I can't do it, dude. And a part of me is quite glad I can't do that. But like I say, I've got no reason to disbelieve Donnie. And I do believe in past lives. So it's just a little bit kind of weird and woo, especially when you add it to that feeling,
Yeah.
Deep, dude. And how many times on the live streams do I usually, ooh la la.
Yeah,
I know, dude, I know, and I always joke about those pesky French, right? I don't know.
Maybe.
Je m'appelle Nessé.
Can I just throw this out there, Kev?
You might as well. I've already found out I'm a murderer in a past life. Nothing else can really get much worse than that,
Maybe your punishment was to be of a smaller stature, of a French stature.
Oh, the Napoleon effect, man. That's what it is, dude.
Yes. See? Yeah. I think that was the universe saying, okay, you're on your on your next go around, we're gonna put a limiter on you.
I think this was one of my previous pre-show streams this week where I was talking about little man syndrome. Somebody in the chat room had never heard of it. I'm not saying it's technically a medical condition. However, there's definitely little man syndrome, right? So, and now here we are again, Scott. Synchronicity. We're back talking about something that came up this week. Mm-hmm. Oh, ooh la la.
Well, as I have told you before, that every broken clock is right twice a day.
Very true, very true. Maybe that's why I'm petrified of those creepy Parisian memes. Mimes, sorry, the mimes. See those stupid things.
That book by that other David who shall not be named, The Synchronicity Keys.
Yes, indeed.
There's some good information in that book, though.
Brother, I would read that book. Absolutely, I would. When I first caught a hold of him, some of the stuff he was putting out, 2012 Enigma, big part in leading me to look at information I'd never heard of before. Liked it back then. It would be more a collection of scientific studies, archaeological stuff, other stuff that you could go and relate to and get into. But then it turned into those of the blue feather will flock together.
How the mighty have fallen.
Hey.
But hey,
Yeah.
I'm not ready to take that leap of faith yet.
Nah, definitely not. Dude.
Unless I know where the island is. And only if it's on Speculation Island.
Speculation Island. I think I'm going to have to move to Speculation Island. Speculation Island isn't a location. It's a state of mind, ladies and gentlemen. We can all get there. We can all get there. There we go. I am the captain of the ship. And that will become a little more relevant as well. No, I'm joking.
No hate, no hype, no fear. Real people, real radio.
Aye. Aye, 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 aye. Oh,
Missed it.
the second half. Oh,
The 22nd rule.
here we go. Oh dear. That sounded like a Wookiee clearing his throat there. I just taken a sound bite of that. Welcome back. Second half of today's Freaky Friday. It's getting a bit cray-cray around here. I told you, lots of laughs, lots of information, lots of woo from me, Scotty, and they say to all of you. But then Brent Thomas comes in and he takes the chalice of woo off us and he'll lead you towards the holy grail of the paranormal portal. All coming up right here on your Freaky Friday. And before we launch back into this, you guys keeping up to date with Oak Island? Please tell me you're keeping up to date with Oak Island. I'm not going to do any spoilers or anything, but please tell me, Scotty, off the charts, man.
I haven't. I'm sorry. I haven't.
You've got you're going to have the pleasure of gorging it, binging it, because this season is binge worthy, dude. Oh.
I guess that maybe I should just wait and then binge it.
There's only a couple left. Only a couple till, and then you'll have 23 episodes to gorge on.
I've fallen into the nasty habit that this younger generation has of not being able to wait for a news. You know what I mean? Like wait a week. You know, like back in the day, you know, we used to, if there was a new show, we'd have to wait for the next week for the next episode to air, right? We didn't get to binge the entire season on Netflix, you know, and that's how we grew up. But now I've developed that nasty little habit of being impatient and not wanting to wait a week.
Can't do it. We've got this huge show over here, Line of Duty, and we've watched every season of it. But like you say, right? And I struggle to remember what it was like waiting like 6 hours and 6 days, 23 hours for the next episode or something. Now I can't wait 6 seconds. I can't even wait for it to automatically get to the next episode. Get it on.
When it comes to stuff like Oak Island, you know, like I'll watch an episode and then by the time, you know, I want to either keep watching it then or I just lose interest.
Well, me and at least we keep at least a 2 in a block. We try to go for 3. We'll leave it maybe 3 weeks and gorge the 3. But I tell you, dude, it's...
I strongly suggest
the episode
that you take the autoplay off.
No, dude, no. I like the whole escapism into 4 episodes or something. Or 6 episodes or something, and just get lost in there, dude.
Kev's like, when I go in,
I go in deep.
Yeah, you go in full immersion, right? Full immersion. You don't half-ass it, man.
Pretty much, dude.
You're gonna watch Netflix or you're gonna binge on something. You gotta go. Just jump right into
imagination needs fueling, man. It needs stimulation, you know. It's probably why I can't ever dare meditate. It's probably why I have a problem quietening the mind. Try to remember those spaces between those lives that have been, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like if I go on a gaming session, I'm not just going to game for an hour. That's just the warm-up phase. If you're going to go in and game, you're going to game, right? You're going to go in for a good 5, 6 hours.
You got to go ball deep, man. Ball deep. That's what it is. You know?
Yeah, it is what
it is. What it is. So,
wait till we get the Neuralink and we can go back into our past lives to play the game.
Oh. What do you think? What do you think the Neuralink will bring to the table, Kev, when it comes to, I mean, that whole realm? Like, could the Neuralink boost maybe someone's ability to remember a past life.
You know, I'm excited about the Neuralink from the perspective of what it could do medically. Like the way it could help people's lives. Now, I had this conversation with my good friend Nancy last night, albeit typed. And I try to focus on the positive as much as I can. And we can all see that there'd be a bad side to that, the control level and things. But what you're saying here, Scotty, do I think it could be used for that? I think if we follow on the trajectory we're on, I think probably inevitable. Do I think everyone would go for it? Not at all, you know?
Yeah. I mean, no, I'm with you. It's all a double-edged sword. There's going to be
a car's a double-edged sword. You can drive it to the fair, or somebody can drive it at the fair, you know?
Yeah, there's going to be the good aspects of it, and then there's going to be the bad aspects of it, and it's all going to depend on how it's utilized and you know, whatever. But it definitely makes me wonder if you're boosting the brain's capabilities with this thing. You know, are we going to manage to maybe unlock areas of our brain that previously we haven't been able to utilize? I mean,
It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you seen that there was a TV show Limitless, wasn't it? Where that opened up the amount of brain power you use. Dude. Who knows, man? This is the thing, though, right? This is the thing. And again, it takes us back to us being really clever, and we are. But the brain's like an enigma, right? And we probably know more about the Anunnaki and the reptilians. We only hypothesize about them, what the brain truly is all about. You know, you can watch hours of content on YouTube, and it's brilliant. You see guys with so many letters after their name, they look like an alphabet unto themselves, and they're talking about consciousness, but not one of them, and they'll all admit this, but not one of them can be pinned down definitively on what it even means to be conscious, what that consciousness is. And so when you start doing things in there and we're implementing things, like I say, it really, to see somebody maybe being able to use a limb again or walk again or whatever, that's amazing. How could you stop that? But again, do we really know, guys? Like, everything's got a knock-on effect, you know? And that's not even getting into the way it could be used for bad.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, we're talking about an artificial form of manipulating the brain, right? I guess you could, an artificial form of manipulating the brain. And like you said, what are the consequences of that? You know, what are the knock-on effects? What are the side effects of that as well? I'll go full sort of
Ready Player One.
Yeah, a little crazy speculation scenario here, right? What if you have somebody that loses control of their telekinetic ability with this thing, right? Like they just it unlocks it. They don't know how to stop it. They can't control it, and all of a sudden, like things around them are getting crushed and thrown around, and it's like this chaotic.
That's when you have to roll out a team of like crack hulks to go and take care of that person.
Yeah, that's when you go and they send like the special team to like take down the telekinetic threat.
Crank darts and things like that, you know.
Bring them back to the facility. We need to see what went wrong.
You think of anyone out there that watches the TV show Expanse? I've recommended it a few times. I love my sci-fi. The latest season of that, there was a facility here on Earth where it was designed to house modified, augmented, souped up cyborgs, basically. Cybernetic humans. Some with super strength, some with psi abilities, you name it. Like the X-Men, right? Is that where we're headed? Because we've got biohacking and people, listen, hey, if it's your own body, have at it, crack on. Look, I ain't judging none here, but we heading that route where we're going to see people like with powers and stuff, dude.
I think we're already there. Well, I think a lot of this Black Project, breakaway civilization, technology stuff, they're already there, right? And you remember, Kev, genetically modified.
Oh, I'll never
right?
forget it, Scott. Never forget it. Never. Genetically modified.
Yes, we always laugh and joke about that.
Because it's uncomfortable.
Exactly. But when you have this, what was he? Was he the UN ambassador?
Yeah,
Syrian UN ambassador.
Syrian UN ambassador. Yeah.
And he, throws out that there's genetically modified rebels
Twice.
in Syria.
He said it. Yeah.
Twice
the reporter ignored him.
Yeah, the reporter just kind of nonchalantly went on asking questions, because I know damn well if I was a reporter and somebody was talking about genetically modified rebels twice, I'd have been like, wait, hold on, wait, back up. Did you say genetically modified? Do you want to elaborate on that?
Stopping one of these private contractors. There's many of them now. Not just America. We've got them. Every country's got private military contractors.
Yes.
So we don't know what they're doing. They could have there's no real rules that say, like, the militaries that we see. No holds barred when you're going into the world of the black area,
Yeah, and that's where all of the Black Project money and everything, they get funneled into these contract groups, these private, mercenary organizations, whatever you want to.
I'll be controversial, man, right? I'll agree with you, and I would say I would be shocked to find out if there wasn't at least testing on one unit somewhere where they can, just for argument's sake, something simple. Some kind of lens in the eye where they see without the night vision goggles. When it's dark, it's there. They can utilize it right away. Some augmentation to the eye. It'd be really easy,
I've even heard of talk about some possible genetic tinkering, CRISPR type tinkering to give soldiers, like you said, the ability to see in the dark. You can tinker with the genetics and give them the trait of an animal that can see in the dark a lot better than a human, right? And so you give them a natural night vision. And this was like serious talk that I saw them talking about, doing this stuff to special forces groups and all that stuff to lower the weight so they don't have to carry night vision goggles, to make them more streamlined and things like that. So,
or are they just going to go for the straight Terminator? Bypass all that.
Universal
Terminator.
Soldier.
Yeah, Universal Soldier.
Have either of you gentlemen did any kind of research into what are they called again? Human modified lab animals?
No.
Or humanoid lab animals, where they're genetically manipulating lab animals so they have more human characteristics, so when they do the studies it's more feasible in the outcome.
This is where you get the stories out of China where they're crossing pigs with humans and
bear pig.
Yeah. And
well, Dr. Monroe on his island, I think, would be more about the manipulation of animals.
Let's choose a fictional country somewhere, and we'll Dr. Monroe. That'll do.
You're seeing stories of this from various areas of the world, and
you said research there, though, Kev, right? And I've got a real problem with that term because I'm stuck in front of my computer, right? And my version of research would be to use the internet. And for me, I don't know what's right and what's wrong anymore. I would say there's got to be like 90% more BS than actual truth out there online nowadays. So I'd never call myself a researcher because I think that takes away from some of the hard work going out there and investigating. I'm not saying you're not a researcher, Nacy, but this is why I just don't do it. And it ties in with what you're saying there. Because some of these topics we bring up, guys, I'm sitting going, I don't even know. Because I know the stories and things that we've been, but I don't even know what's right and what's wrong anymore. You know?
That correlates with, and forgive me if it's my tenacity, but I've been into this searching for the truth for 25 years when I learned about my own situation with Gulf War illness. And as I'm trying to figure out how can I stay alive, and I start researching what's wrong with me, and then you start trying to find for the latest advancements in medical studies and stuff, you weren't able to go to, the internet like you did 20 years ago. You had to actually go to the University of Minnesota and go into their medical library and start researching this stuff, and that's where I look at it as research. When you're doing your senior paper for college, or when you're doing your assignments in college, you're going to the libraries, you're taking books, and you're literally searching. So is it really searching when you go to a search engine and type in Dr. Monroe?
Oh, don't get me into how search engines could game you. I'm telling you, I think all of us could do the same search right now online. And I reckon half of it, I reckon there'd be a lot of us getting really different results. And how can that be? Well, there's geography could tie into, I suppose I could tie into. Yes, I'm very paranoid on that front, Scotty boy. Very paranoid.
Let me throw this out.
Are you suggesting that Big Tech would manipulate?
No, because I don't think they even understand many of their algorithms anymore. And I think some of these algorithms might even be taking on, you all go deep with, lives of their own. The algorithms are alive. Scott, the algorithms are alive. They live.
When...
Come on, man.
Exactly. There you go, Nacy.
Well, we can literally check that out right now, because those of us that are gathered there in YouTube, if we all did one search and typed in Dr. Monroe, just see what the first thing comes up. It would be 50, 60 different first suggested sites. I would make the assumption right away.
Yeah.
And when I go to a search engine, more times than not, what I will do is I will jump ahead 20 pages and then start seeing what's given to me. Instead of that first page, I always skip the first couple pages, unless I'm looking for something absolute specifically, but if it's something to bring me interest, because way back in the day, we had to read these books, and then we'd have to go back into the bibliography or the references and find out what books they got it from. And then you would go back to those, and that's how we had to do it back in 1992.
I think that's the difference I was actually trying to make between research then and research now. I think we've got a habit, if we do find it online, we'll take what we see online and we'll run with it, as opposed to, like you say, always kind of back check and try to go further and further back to the source, I think that's why I think that's more a better way of explaining what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can actually do research online as well. It doesn't just, doing research doesn't mean you have to go to a physical library. But if you're doing research online, and you got to essentially do the same thing, you've got to trace it back to its source, right? So you look for source links and you find out where that page got its information from, and then if that has source links, you trace it back to its original source. And if that original source ends up coming from a physical book or something, then you go to the library and keep continue your research from there, but yeah, you don't just, people now just watch a YouTube video or read a random article and it makes them an expert on something.
We're all armchair experts, dude. I'm even an armchair archaeologist after watching like all the Oak Islands I've seen. Telling you. Yeah. Indeed.
Indeed.
That I've always pondered. Why have they not gone to the local Native Americans and say, hey, what about this island? What do you guys know about it?
Very, very true.
Yeah, exactly. It's very interesting how it doesn't seem that they had a very keen interest on what the natives
I've seen the Laginas digging into that. One of the theories is, and it was a Scottish guy. It's where the Scottish come into it. He went over there, and there's a story. I might have to try and dig it up here. But I believe he ended up staying there. There was natives at the time on the island, and it was part of like their story. One story from the natives was this person coming, this ship coming and things. I'll need to dig it up, but they have covered that kind of angle before. Yeah, I'll dig it up.
Yeah, I think they did talk to some.
Yeah. But always good to have a look, because that's a bang on point, running around, going over to France and everything else, try to trace the Knights Templar, and like you say, why not go to like the most local people you can think? No, totally. But I'm going to dig that story up now because that could be interesting.
But I wonder how much farther they got to go. I wonder if they're ever going to get to the bottom of that thing.
I think after they've milked as many seasons as I think they have, then they'll tell us what's up.
Okay, here we go. It says here, the first major indigenous people in Nova Scotia were the Micmac, or the Mi'kmaq, who formed an Indian nation in present-day Canada several thousand years ago. The area encompasses Oak Island, and it was once known as Sege-Pene-Gatib, or Sene-Pene-Gatig, region. While it is unknown when Oak Island was first discovered, a tribe had a presence in the overall area, which included the entire island of Newfoundland. The earliest confirmed European residents date back to 1750 in the form of French fishermen who had by this time built a few houses on the future site of the nearby village of Chester, Nova Scotia. And it says, following the expulsion of the Acadians during the 7 Years' War, the British government of Nova Scotia enacted a series of measures to encourage settlement of the area by European descendant New Englanders. Land was made available to the settlers in 1759 through Shotham Grant, and Chester was officially founded the same year. Now that doesn't have the actual theory that I'm looking for, but I'll get it, folks. Don't you worry. I'll get it. Keep talking, boys. Don't be waiting for me. Dead air's not nice while I'm looking for something. No.
I mean, I would think that at least the natives in the area would have something to say, at least in terms of local lore or stories or something about the island when it comes to their history. And, you got to wonder if that plays a role in anything that may be located there. Maybe they have some kind of knowledge about the island that would be of use. And like Nase said, you would think that they would probably want to know that. So, yeah. And I do vaguely remember them doing something and where they talked to the natives.
Here we go. It's Henry Sinclair. Right, wait a minute, wait till I get it here. Henry Sinclair. We're almost on the break, so I need to do it quick, but I need to find hang on.
As in Johnny Whistles.
Here we go.
Sinclair?
In addition, some writers such as Native American historian Evan Pritchard have claimed that Glooscap, the spiritual hero figure of the Mi'kmaq people, is in fact a depiction of an early European explorer, most likely Henry Sinclair. Ah, I'm glad I found that, or I'd have sounded really, really silly there, right? So they had this, like it says there, a figure that he was revered, some kind of heroic kind of dude that came from over the waters, you know, arrived from overseas, and yep, pretty cool.
They think it might have been Henry Sinclair.
Yes. Of Johnny Whistles Sinclair, and of the Baron of Roslin. Oh yes, Roslin Chapel, indeedy. We'll be back after the break. Don't go anywhere, folks. 1 hour to go on Freaky Friday. I tell you, it's almost 2 weeks since I've hung up on Nacy now on a break. I'm feeling quite good about this, Nacy.
You know, you had the can you imagine the natives hanging out there, and then all of a sudden Johnny Whistles comes showing up on a ship? You know, he just
hey. We used to have. I think I might still have a photo of Johnny Whistles at the island, in full regalia.
Yes,
I might do. Yeah, I'll have to dig that up in a moment. I want to get a deeper story of who like the story of why this figure was important to the. And Kevin, it's MI-KMAQ. So that's me, Kamaki or Kumwak. Is that it?
Sometimes they call it Micmac.
Micmac. There we go.
Yeah. But the Micmac are the Algonquian language group or language classification, which are the Anishinaabe. You know, the best way that I can make a metaphor is imagine if you're traveling to an area and you meet somebody and you're like, who are you? And they say, we're the Johnson family. And then you say, nah, I'm going to call you Smith. And then you go to the next place and they're like, who are you? We're the Johnson family. And you're like, nah, I'm going to call you Sinclair. And then you go to the next place and you just keep relabeling them. And that's how it happened.
Oh,
you know,
I've got it when we come back here, boys. I've got it when we come back. I have found the holy grail of Oak Island Woo that ties in with us, yeah. The legend of Glooscap. Oh boy, oh boy.
How is that spelled?
Gloosca. SCAP. Glooscap.
It might be glooscap.
Whatever it is, it looks like glooscap to me, and it's staying as glooscap now. But I'll take your word for it, Nacy.
Because we do like a long. This was the other challenge when they were trying to.
He's the original G, not the original OG. He's like the G. Maybe that's why the G for the Mason. I'm only joking. I don't know. Right? Hey, listen, it's a big connection to the island, dude.
But we have like a long vowel and a short vowel, and when they were trying to write our language out, there was this constant confusion of how do we denote a long vowel or a short vowel? And what they were doing is they were like doing two O's together and then sometimes two A's together to make it like ah instead of a. And, and this is one of the challenges in the Anishinaabe world. We keep fighting about, where we're going to use the older Baraga definition or the newest Johnston edition. So, yeah, languages, Babylon.
Exactly. Look how many new words they come up with nowadays for things that you never knew that we even needed a word for. And words that get taken away, they become, one day they're okay, they're popular, they're in vogue, the next day, whoa, cancelled. It's crazy. Even language isn't like set in stone. Very fluid indeed.
Did you hear about that new genderization in the insect world? They're now going to call it praying mantis.
I heard that.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
How dare you?
Oh, bit of both of them there. There we go. Here we go, boys. Let's do it. That was on time this time, Kev. I got your 17th letter. I can't say that letter because the algorithm will mistake it.
This
Yeah.
Oh, there, come on. FR.
The new moon is on the 11th.
Is it?
11 is the letter K.
Tomorrow
1-1.
then, Sunday. Is it?
Sunday. Yep.
Yeah. I'll be, well, I think it's tomorrow night. I'll be watching the Aurelian Ancestry Conference. I must admit, I'm going to be staying up till the wee hours in the morning so I can sync up with Australian time and catch the latest installment of all that stuff going on. So, here we go, boys. Here we go. Welcome back. Keep your mind. Wrong one,
open.
wrong one.
Keep
See, I got it all wrong. See, I had to go wrong at some point. Oh. At some point, it always goes wrong. Anywho, we are moving in hour number 3 right here on today's Freaky Friday. Nacy, you having fun, man?
Always. Always. The giggles are always abundantly found when the three of us together.
My mum just messaged me there, right? She says, I can't get my head around folks saying something is sick, meaning it's awesome. See, we were talking about language during the break there. Yes, language is, it's very, like I say, it's very fluid. It means one thing one day, and then next generations come along and things, that, you know, and then before you know it, you're listening to your son talking in the room on his Xbox or something, and you're thinking, I didn't know he knew some foreign language, only they don't. It's just you're outdated now.
Well, you know, Kev,
She don't get the whole, oh, that's sick, man.
Yeah, yeah.
if in today's world the word sick is something positive, Pearly, you're sick.
There you go. Oh, she is sick, very sick. And there you go. See, we're meeting awesome. Anywho, she'll be sitting there getting her dopamine fix now. She'll have that big goofy smile on her face, Scotch. I know she will. Big shout out to your mum as well. Big shout out to everyone's mum. Everyone's dad, everyone's loved one. Yeah, well, everyone. We're all having a love in here today. No, I'm not going all new agey, folks. Don't you worry. I will always just be Kev. Plain old Kev. And we're going to get into some good Oak Island woo here right now. Because we were talking about the natives in the area being the best source of information on what the heck went down at Oak Island. It got me thinking, and it got me trying to remember how there was a connection there. And it ties in very strongly with my ex-co-host. I say ex-co-host, it's not like it stopped. Johnny got unwell. I'm glad to tell everyone, though, Johnny is a lot better now. Actually seen he'd made a video on YouTube last week. So that's why I've got a smile on my face here. We'll have to get him on for a freaky sometime, I think, you know.
I think so. Yeah.
But his name is obviously Johnny Whistles, but it's John Sinclair. And the Sinclair connection is to the native type story. If there is a connection, it could lie in here. And it says Mystery of the Templars. Yes, the Templars, folks. The legend of glooscap. Now, Nacy, you were telling us that could be pronounced something different during the break. How do you think that could be pronounced, brother?
I think it might have been called glooscap. But
Glooscap.
Because like the O is like a long O.
Got you.
You know, but I mean, yeah, I guess I would have to talk to one of the tribe people of the area to be more specific about it.
Well,
because
I'm going to call
regional
him Big
dialect,
G. I'm going to call him Big G, right? So
that's cool with me.
It is known that the Templars fled to Scotland too after the dissolution of 1312. And it is known that some found refuge among the Sinclairs of Roslin in Midlothian. There's a Templar cemetery there. No family in Europe beneath the rank of royalty boasts a higher antiquity, a noble illustration, or a more romantic interest than that of St. Clair. Now, these are all different kind of quotes and research that's been put together. It says, we encountered repeated references to the Sinclair family, Scottish branch of the Norman St. Clair Geysers family. Their domain at Roslin was only a few miles from the former Scottish headquarters of the Knights Templar and the chapel at Roslin, built between 1446 and 1486. And I've finally been there and it's beautiful. Has long been associated with both Freemasonry and the Rose Croix. That's the Rosicrucians. In a charter believed to date from 1601, moreover, the Sinclairs are recognised as the hereditary Grand Masters of Scottish Masonry. This is the earliest specific Masonic document on record. Our listener, Polly, he's from this name of family as well, and he's in Canada.
The hereditary grandmaster. See, and that goes back to that kind of bloodline, past connections, all of that stuff.
Yeah, big time, man. So it says here, the famous Grail seeker Trevor Ravenscroft claimed in 1962 that he'd finished a 20-year quest in search of the Grail at Roslin Chapel. His claim was that the Grail was inside the Prentice Pillar. Now, I think that's meant to be the Apprentice Pillar, as it's known, in the chapel. And the chapel is often visited now by Grail seekers, and many references to the Grail can be found in its stonework and windows. That's the one thing I took away from going to Roslin. It's not like going into a chapel, it's like walking into a Rubik's Cube, wrapped up in a game of Scrabble, where there's symmetric clues, angles. There's a whole load of woo in there. Big time. I like that.
Yeah,
it's like walking into a Rubik's Cube. I like that. That was quite cool.
I like that description. Yeah, and it is. It's like just seeing the pictures of it. It's you're literally looking at probably one of the world's most complex puzzles that are riddles.
Big time. If something's written in stone, it's in there. It's in there, but only if you've the eyes to see, and you're probably a member of that big G. Metal detectors have been used on the pillar, and an object of the appropriate size is indeed buried in the middle. Now, Lord Roslin adamantly refuses to have the pillar X-rayed. So Henry Sinclair, Earl of Orkney, was born about 1345, about a generation after the Templars' dispersal. Henry's ancestor and namesake, Henri de Sinclair, oh, there's that Frenchness again, fought beside Godfrey de Bouillon at the taking of Jerusalem. Several Sinclairs became Templars themselves. Now, in the confusing and purely familial pattern of the Middle Ages, Henry Sinclair held Roslin as a vassal of the kings of England and Scotland, but held Orkney as a vassal of the King of Norway. By 1390, Henry's fleet numbered 13 ships, 2 decked oared galleys of Mediterranean type, useful for manoeuvring in the narrow channels of Orkney and Shetland island groups, and a favoured labyrinth for pirates and disconnected island smugglers. Pirates, what do pirates have? Treasure. One decked longship for battle, based on the old Viking lines, Viking boats treasure. And then decked sailing barks, suitable for oceanic patrols around the island groups. So in 1391, a Venetian ship entered the Orkney earldom. Aboard was Niccolo Zeno, brother of Carlo Zeno, the Lion of Venice, who had pioneered the use of the cannon for Venice at the Battle of Chioggia. Now, after spending some time with Sinclair, Niccolo Zeno wrote home to Venice and instructed his brother Antonio to join him in the Orkneys. Niccolo and Antonio together supplied the expertise that Henry lacked. They knew how to forge new lightweight cannons for shipboard use, and they were familiar with the latest navigational theories and cartographic skills. They stayed in the service of Sinclair until death. And trust me, you need to watch Oak Island. That's all I'm saying as I'm reading this. You need to watch Oak Island, right? Because unable to take in wood and water in Iceland because of a hostile reception by the inhabitants. Because on say Sinclair, saying he could do nothing, and that if he were to persevere in this attempt, the fleet would fall short of provisions, took his departure with a fair wind, and sailed 6 days to the westwards. But the winds afterwards shifted to the southwest, and the sea becoming rough, we sailed 4 days in the wind aft, and finally sighted land. As the sea ran high, and we did not know what country it was, we were afraid to first approach it. But by God's blessing, the wind lulled, and then there came a great calm. Some of the crew pulled ashore, and soon returned with great joy and news that they had found an excellent country and a still better harbour. After 8 days, the 100 soldiers returned and brought work that they had been through the island, or brought word, that they had been through the island and up to a hill, and that the smoke was a natural thing proceeding from a great fire in the bottom of the hill, and that there was a spring from which issued a certain substance like pitch, which ran into the sea, and thereabouts dwelt a great many people of half wild and living in caves. They were of small stature and very timid. And they reported also that there was a large river and a very good safe harbour. Now this keeps going down here, and I hope there's glooscap coming down soon. Now remember, folks, every kind of paragraph here is like a different account from different like books and things. But it says, apparently in 1398, Harry Sinclair, the Earl of Orkney, sailed to Nova Scotia, accompanied by the Zeno brothers of Genoa, one of whom mailed an account home to another brother left in Italy, and he stated a settlement where a royal family took refuge. Now, burning pitch deposits at Stellarton, Nova Scotia, behind Mount Adams, were responsible for the burning hill Sinclair's explorers first thought they saw, and the description confirms Cape Caruso as the area of landfall on June 2nd, 1398. Now, Sinclair's castle was built in the middle of the peninsula at the headwaters of both the Gold and the Gaspereau rivers, and the mouth each of which is indicated by an oak island. The one at the mouth of the Gold is the Oak Island of treasure fame. These are apparently the only 2 islands with oak trees growing on them in all of Nova Scotia, and acorns don't float. All that is left of the castle are floorings of walls, partial plan and book, and level with the ground, and to the author, these are very similar to rubble wall construction in Scotland. And unlike anything else in the area, there was also some small artifacts picked up by the owner on the site, who was an avid gardener. Then it's got this, like almost a poem here. Glooscap was the first and greatest to come to our land in Nova Scotia. When the master left Ukaku Makuk, called by the English Newfoundland, he went to Pictuk or Pictou, which means the rising of bubbles, because at that place the water is ever strangely moving. There he found an Indian village, a town with 100 wigwams. In the body of the Micmac legends, it says Pohl, P-O-H-L, was the first to identify Glooscap as Henry Sinclair. Pohl was able to make a list of 17 specific similarities between Glooscap and Sinclair, including the fact that they each had 3 daughters. That comes from a book called The Holy Grail Across the Atlantic. And it goes, Glooscap invited all to a parting banquet by the lake or the great lake Minas shore on the silver water's edge. And when the feast was over, entered the great canoe and sailed away over the water, the shining waves of Minas. And in memory of this parting, the Micmacs traditionally chanted Nemajik Numedich. This, as Frederick Pohl noted, sounds like the words of an Old Norse sea chanty sung when weighing anchor. Now, Kevin, that's spelled Nema J-E-E-C-K. So is that Nemajik?
One more time.
N-E-N-E, N for Norman, E-M for Mike, A-J-E-E-C-K. Nemajik.
Name me. It's either name me Jock. I'd have to,
Yeah,
I'd
you
have
probably
to
need to see it, dude. You probably need to see it, but it goes on to say, this.
Does it give a translation?
It says, this, as Frederick Pohl noted, sounded like the words of an Old Norse sea chanty sung when weighing anchor. And then somebody else says, Numo Jag, Numo Deg. And again, that comes from a different source. But the last but not least, it says...
D-A-A-G?
Sorry?
D-A-A-G?
No, D-E-G. Deg.
Oh. Yeah, see, that's another challenge because the E is pronounced A, and the A is pronounced Ah, and the I is pronounced E. So it's really confusing, the Anishinaabe
I can't even read English, dude. Don't try to confuse me with words sounding different now. Samuel de Champlain was in on the scheme, and when he showed up 200 years later, he did what he could to hide the existence of the refuge, and his normally detailed maps became vague in the area, and his reports were deliberately false with respect to prospects for settlers. As a result, colonization of the area was slowed down for about a generation until the family could be moved to Ville-Marie, which is Montreal, not hidden this time, but disguised as a Sulpician religious order. Now, I know that was a whole collection of different hodgepodge kind of tales about the Sinclairs and things, but there's definitely that Scottish connection. It's Nova Scotia, New Scotland. You've got the Knights Baronets as well. They're, yes, an order of Freemasons, the Knights Baronets, and they were heavily into the Nova Scotia area. Big time settled there.
And, I think this kind of also gives more, I think it's Templar treasure, to be honest. In the money pit in Oak Island, I definitely think it's something that the Templars were wanting to keep safe. Now, what is it exactly? Who knows? I mean, is it one of these ancient artifacts or relics that the Templars were in possession of and they wanted to keep it safe? I mean, are we talking about the Ark of the Covenant or something else, some other artifact of great significance that they are trying to protect? Or is it just wealth? I mean, the Templars were an extremely, extremely wealthy group of individuals. That's why the King of France had them wiped out, right? They were gaining too much power, and they were posing a threat as far as the amount of wealth and influence that they had. So they had to go. But no, I definitely think that there's some kind of a Templar connection there. I mean, it's obvious. They've already found a lot of stuff there at Oak Island that points to the Templars. Remember that cross that they found? What was it, like a metal cross? And it kind of had a little a weird hook at the top, but it matched the Templar crosses that were in Europe.
Yeah, there's one exactly the same at Dom Castle. I think I put this to Lon Strickler when he was on the show. Because the Vikings are in my mind as well. And we know the Vikings were in France too. Part of me wonders, right, if maybe either the Vikings came up with a tall tale, or maybe they escaped with something from France at some point, right? And maybe the original people that started digging at Oak Island, maybe they themselves weren't depositing anything. Maybe they were chasing something that was never maybe there. So when the guys found the people and seen the lights on Oak Island in 1795, the McGinnises, possibly, what if that was a what if those weren't the original depositors? What if they were another search team that had been sent there with information from France or England or the Sinclairs or...
That's what I'm saying. I mean, there's activity that's been going on that island since at least the 1300s. At least 1300s.
If we can go back even further than that with the speculation that the Phoenicians were going up the Mississippi River and up the Colorado River, and they have all of these strange anomalies. My ancestors talk about trading copper with people that came up and visited through the Mississippi River. So who's to say that these Phoenicians didn't go up and down the East Coast also? And if they were in the same desire of treasure and wealth and resources, these islands off the coast of America would be great storage areas, especially since it would be more challenging for the native peoples to come to the island, because it's a great stronghold. It'd be easy to defend if you're out on an island, especially
Think about it as well, Kev, if we go back to when ocean levels were different. It's not that far away from the mainland. So at some point, I expect it was probably part of the mainland. You know, so we don't really know. I mean, how far back do you want to take this? Because as every season goes, the deeper they dig, that seems to be the older we go back. I tell you, although it's been running for so many years, this current season, the ones now that have the island, the lagunas, and you've got these past 200, 300 years of constant searching and things going on. We may even just be scraping the tip of the iceberg. Who knows how long activity goes back there, you know?
I mean, just for now, from what we've been able to, what they've been able to gather from it, you know, it's at least the 1300s, but who's to say it doesn't even go farther beyond that? And like you said, I mean, if we're talking about a time to where maybe there was activity there, I mean, we're long before maybe even the Ice Age or something. Let's start.
Who knows? Yep.
Into that realm.
Civilizations rise and they fall. And who's to say that in this quest for knowledge, they came upon some antiquity in Europe that said, hey, if you guys go beyond, you know, France and all of that, and you keep heading across the Atlantic, there's this land where long ago people went to and they buried a bunch of treasure there.
Are you saying this could be one of the first global scale early day LARPs? You were LARPing around saying there's a treasure on an island in the North Atlantic, you know?
Well, I speculate Nicolas Cage in a reoccurring role of National Treasure 3, Oak Island.
I thought you were going to say he's going to be at the bottom of the money pit. I was going to say that's even better than my theory that Desmond out of Lost is actually down there pressing a button once every 8 hours to keep the world going, you know?
The original Nicolas Cage?
The original, the older one, you mean? Like the one from, like, when was it? Civil War time? That's a scary look-alike, man. Very scary.
They're gonna get to the bottom. They're gonna get to the bottom of the money pit, and there's just gonna be a piece of paper down there that says "Made you look."
Yeah. Yeah.
Made you look.
That'd be great. It's good. Hey, who knows, dude? Who knows? Who knows? But we've got a couple of minutes before we go to the break. Nacy, remind people where you're going to be on the network next Friday.
I am hopefully still going to be remaining inside of this skin suit, but I will have the joy of joining Paisley Wild on Spaces in Between after the Paranormal Portal with Brent, after Freaky Friday, and it's 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock Central Standard Time. We're going to talk about appropriations and Native American ceremonies, rituals, stuff of that. I joke around and I call myself a born-again pagan because according to some of my Christian friends, I'm considered a pagan because I am a practicing Anishinaabe. So give me your address. I'll come visit you with my drum and pipe.
There you go. There you go. We'll be back after the break, everyone. Don't go anywhere. There we go. We talk about Speculation Island. Isn't Oak Island like... can you define that as Speculation Island? I mean...
Oak Island literally is Speculation Island because that's all you can really pretty much...
Atlantis is definitely another speculation type island as well, right? I suppose...
Atlantis seems to be a constellation of speculation islands.
I like it, yeah.
When you were talking about the whole thing about oak trees and everything, in Minnesota, up in the northern area, the Arrowhead, there's a place called Grand Portage, or Grand Marais. And in Grand Marais, they have this, on the Grand Portage Reservation, they have a thing that they call the little spirit tree or the witch tree. And I can't remember the type of tree that it is, but it's a tree that they speculate that is almost 500 years old, and it is not an indigenous tree to North America, and it somehow, this seed fell between the cracks of a rock on the shoreline and grew.
Got it, man. Got it. Yep. Witch tree, as it's commonly known, also as the little cedar spirit tree by the Ojibwe First Nation tribe. Did I get that right? No, I didn't get that right. Ojibwa.
Anishinaabe. That's another term we were given by the French.
So, see, there you go. As the ancient Tuja occidentalis, the eastern white cedar, growing on the shore of Lake Superior in Cook County, Minnesota. That's pretty cool, dude.
I've been there a couple times. Very powerful place.
That is really cool, man. Making it over 300 years old, at least, probably. The tree is held sacred by the Ojibwe, the Anishinaabe, who traditionally leave offerings of tobacco to ensure a safe journey on Lake Superior. Due to its sacred nature and vandalism problems in the past, the tree is considered off limits to visitors unless accompanied by a local Ojibwe, Anishinaabe band member. See, I'll get there in the end, they say. I'll get there in the end, but that is pretty fascinating, man.
The last time that I was at the tree was one of my occurrences of witnessing a UFO.
Oh.
Whoa.
We went up to go visit that tree, and we were so close to the Canadian border. Me and my friend were like, let's go across Canada to the gift shop and get something from Canada. And they were like, okay. So we took off for the border of Canada, and then the gift shop was closed. And so we're like, where's the closest town? And it was Thunder Bay. And so we drove to Thunder Bay, and we got caught in a detour. And on this detour, on the way back from Thunder Bay, a huge orange orb came down so low that it lit up the sky like it was dawn.
Whoa.
And
Whoa.
I reach over and I grab the headlights, and uneven, like not consciously knowing what I'm doing, I grab the headlights and I start turning them off and on, and I pull over to the side of the road, and my friend, she starts going, "What are you doing? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm letting them know we're here." And she's like, "Why? Why would you?" And then her fear got to me, and the minute we both were fearful, the thing instantly zipped away.
Here we go, boys. Here we go. I've given it a bit extra this time. Here we go. Keep your mind wrong
open.
one again. Looking for the moon, but not to the point where your brain turns to black goo. Oh, boys, it's one of these ones. Amateur hour. What can I say? But no, final segment today. Scott, let people know who's going to be coming on after today's show.
Today, after the show, you're going to want to stick around and check out Brent Thomas and the Paranormal Portal. Yes, Paranormal Portal. We're just the warm-up crew. If you're into the woo, if you're into the paranormal, if you're into the weird, if you're into the cryptids that are creeping around in the forests and the mountains and all of that good stuff, you're going to want to check out Brent Thomas, everyone.
Oh, there he is. He's in the chat room as well.
Yes. There he is, the man himself.
Yeah, like us, he's on tfrlive.com. And also, like us, he'll be simulcasting on YouTube. You can get it on TalkStream Live. You can get it on Paranormal Radio app. But no excuses when you can't listen to Brent. So please stay tuned after today's show. Don't go anywhere. So, boys, where do you want to go now? We put in the title, Where Are We Going, as well. Where are we going? What does it, if we've had past lives, then what's the future looking like? Scotty boy, take us into the future. Where are we going, man?
I want to bring up this this stonehenge structure or something.
Go for it, dude.
That may have been found in the Great Lakes. I don't know if this is an old story or a new story or
it's a story, and that's the main thing, brother.
I'm gonna drop this link in here, and then we'll get into it and see what's going on with this. So I was talking to my mother, and she was telling me about something that she is it blocked?
No, it's because I added it to the YouTube web address. It was never gonna bring it up. There you go. That's a weird looking thing right off, man.
Yeah, I don't know what that. It looks like a carving of an elephant, right?
Definitely. Yeah, you got the tusks there. Yep, definitely.
Or a woolly mammoth, maybe?
I think, no, the woolly mammoth, does its tusks not come down the way?
Yeah.
That's actually, when you look at the big, huge ear on it as well, it's either an elephant or it's one of the strongest pareidolia effects you can have by the way they've miscolored it, to make it stand out. Well, I'm taking it they miscolored it to make it stand out.
Yeah, I think
I would say so, right?
Yeah, I would hope. Or you would think. All right, so I'm going to read this. I haven't read this. I haven't really looked in. This is just the first thing that kind of popped up whenever I searched this. So it says the Lake Michigan Stonehenge. It says location of North American Stonehenge in Lake Michigan. It says Michigan Lake is currently the lone Great Lake situated in the U.S. The title can be traced to the Anishinaabe lexicon. I didn't label you that dirty French label. Naysayer.
See, it's that French thing again. See, I'm stuck with the French pronoun. The Ojibwa.
Ojibwa. It's from the Anishinaabe lexicon. Was it Michigami, which means a large lake. when estimated by water surface. The Lake Michigan's measures 57,800 kilometers square. And it's the third biggest of the Great Lake. Or it's the third biggest, yeah. It says, however, with a volume of 4,920 cubic kilometers, or 1,180 cubic miles, it ranks as the second biggest of the Great Lakes. Lake Superior remains the biggest. So it just kind of goes into Lake Michigan there. And I'm going to just kind of scroll down to where it
Well,
gets...
it's interesting because Lake Superior is called Gitchigumi, which means like the greatest or the biggest lake. And then Michigan means a large lake, but just not as big.
Interesting. So getting into the Stonehenge structure here, it says, archaeologists discovered something exciting unexpectedly while roaming beneath the Lake Michigan waters for shipwrecks. They found an array of stones ordered in a Stonehenge fashion. It was a rock having a carving of a mastodon. Interesting. So that was that rock.
Definitely not an elephant then.
No, a mastodon. It says 21st century archaeologists regularly use the remote sensing strategy. Periodically, they tour lakes and surfaces for concealed directions. Scientists once concealed directions. Oh boy! Whoever wrote this. Whoever wrote this.
I apologize.
No. I was thinking about it as I read it, and I was like,
Oh dear, I couldn't hold that one out.
I muted myself because I was laughing so hard. Freudian slip. The views and opinions expressed by Scotty Lopez does not reflect on the other two hosts.
Hey. Look, if you're gonna have an erection, you got to make sure it's concealed, right?
Very good point. Very good point. It almost goes without saying it should be concealed unless in certain circumstances, you know.
It has to be concealed. If it ain't, then
there's laws against that type of thing, man.
Laws against that.
Rightly so. Rightly so. We can't have anarchy in the streets like that, Scott.
Oh no. So continuing on. It's
Okay, so if I can keep my composure right now, I'll try to share some information.
He muted himself up, I think. Oh no, Nacy, did you mute up, dude? What happened, Nacy?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to collect myself, and then I was
Scott,
trying to.
I will stop laughing. Right, where did we get to? Well, we know where we got to. Go by there.
Yeah, we know where we got to. Let's. So, scientists once found submerged cars, boats, and even a Civil War era pier at a depth of almost 40 feet down in Lake Michigan's massive Traverse Bay. The sonar strategy was employed in spotting the shipwreck. However, the most important amongst all is the discovery of the prehistoric stunner. Could only be unraveled by staring skillfully at the sonar scanned pictures in this piece. Mark Hawley, an underwater archaeology professor at Northwestern, who proclaimed the discovery, confirms it looks incredibly genuine when in the water. Notwithstanding, he still needs it validated by the experts. His discovery was aired in the news meeting alongside images of the boulder in the exhibit Oh, and this was back in 2007. Okay, so see, I thought this was something new, but I thought I had heard something about this before. But still, it's very interesting. It says more so, Hawley spoke the marked boulders of 3.5 to 4 feet tall and somewhere 5 feet in length. The pictures display a ground with many cracks. According to his evidence, the setting of the structure was likely man-made. This is because he found a stone carving that seems to be that of a mastodon. Nonetheless, he concluded that some might have come naturally, while some were man-made. Even Greg McMaster, president of the Underwater Preserve Council, said he stared at it unbelievably. He says it resembles a figure of a mastodon, resemblance back, trunk, head, tusk, leg, and parts, a triangular-shaped ear. Hawley then said that the specialist showed the images of the boulder carrying the mastodon imprints, have requested for more proof before approving the markings to be a prehistoric petroglyph. Regrettably, he argued that this might be a minor hitch, as petroglyph experts normally do not dive. So this is located underwater, and the petroglyph experts don't usually dive underwater to validate things. So it was going to be hard for them to validate it. It says nevertheless, if proven real, the wannabe petroglyph coincides with the after Ice Age of existence of both man and mastodons in the higher Midwest. It might also be as ancient as 10,000 years old. So we're starting to push 10, 12,000. Isn't that Göbekli Tepe kind of time frame area, you know? Also, stone circles and more petroglyph sites are situated in the location. Therefore, the evidence, when proven, wouldn't be entirely surprising. This discovery, which was made years back, has amazingly not gained massive attention due to the insufficient information online. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because I was having a lot of issues kind of like looking up information on this. Says, like many other mysteries today, the evidence to suggest that something amazing occurred, or that there's something amazing had occurred. However, there is inadequate doubt to cast distrust as to how and when the event took place. Hopefully, the archaeologists who made the discovery will come back to find out more about the origins of this Lake Michigan Stonehenge. Interesting. And if you go down to the bottom, you can see some of the pillars down under the water. Yeah. So
that's pretty cool, dude. I was doing a show the other day as well about it was Russian X-Files, but I kind of found something in there I'd never heard of before, and I kind of took a little note and said, "Oh, that's the guys if you've heard of it." It's called the Chandar slab, aka the Dashka stone. There's a picture of it there. Now, people, you can Google this. I can't actually. Let's let me take the picture. I'll post it to the chat room over at TFR in a moment. I'll put a link in there actually right now. I'm going to read a little bit of this. And have you heard of this one before, Scotty, Nacy? It's like a 1,000,000-year-old map.
Whoa,
from
no,
Russia. Okay, like when we done this the other day on the stream, not many people had really appreciated this one either. If we come here, wait till I find this now. Pull this up. So the map of the creator. And it says a find of Bashkir scientists contraries to tradition, notions of human history. A stone slab which is 120 million. Okay, a lot older than I thought. 120 million years covered with a relief map of the Ural region. Now, this seems to be impossible, and scientists of Bashkir State University have found indisputable proofs of an ancient, highly developed civilization's existence. The question is about a great plate found in 1999 with picture of the region done according to an unknown technology. Now, this is a relief map, and today's military has almost similar maps. The map contains civil engineering works, a system of channels with a length of about 1,200 kilometers, weirs, powerful dams. Not far from the channels, diamond-shaped grounds are shown, whose destination is unknown. Now, the map also contains some inscriptions, even numerous inscriptions. At first, the scientists thought that the old Chinese language. Now, if this sounds a little broken, folks, it's because it's probably been translated over from Russian. That's what I'm thinking, anyway. So it says, though it turned out...
Yeah, that's why my articles sound kind of weird, too. Whoever was right.
Yeah. Though it turned out that the subscriptions were done, and that's probably inscriptions, maybe, were done in the hieroglyphic, syllabic language of unknown origin. The scientists never managed to read it. This quote, "The more I learn, the more I understand that I know nothing." The Doctor of Physical Mathematical Science, Professor of Bashkir State University, Alexander Chuvirov, admits. Namely, Chuvirov made that sensational find, and already in 1995, the professor and his postgraduate student from China, Huan Hun, decided to study the hypothesis of possible migration of an old Chinese population to the territory of Siberia and Ural. In an expedition to Bashkiria, they found several rock carvings done in Old Chinese language, and these finds confirmed the hypothesis of the Chinese migrants, and the inscriptions were read. They mostly contained information about trade bargains, marriage, and death registration. Though, during the searches, notes dated the 18th century were found in archives of Ufa Governor General. They reported about 200 unusual stone slabs which were situated not near from the Chandar village, and that's Nuramanov region. Now, Chuvirov and his colleague at once decided that the slabs could be connected with Chinese migrants. So, archive notes also reported that in the 17th and 18th century, expeditions of Russian scientists who investigated the Ural region had studied 200 white slabs with signs and patterns, while in the 20th century, archaeologist A. Schmidt also had seen some white slabs in Bashkiria. This made the scientists start the search, and in 1998, after having formed a team of his students, Chuvirov launched the work. He hired a helicopter, and the first expedition carried a flying around the plains where the slabs were supposed to be, though despite all efforts the ancient slabs were not found. Chuvirov was very upset, and even though the slabs were just a beautiful legend, the luck was unexpected. During one of Chuvirov's trips to the village, ex-chairman of the local agricultural council, Vladimir Krenov, great guy, I went to school with his boy, came to a props in the house, right, says, "Are you searching for some stone slabs? I have a strange slab in my yard." At first, I did not take that report seriously, Chuvirov told, though I decided to go to that yard to see it. I remember this day exactly. It was July 21st, 1991. Under the porch of the house, the slab with one of the dents lied. The slab was so heavy that we together could not take it out. So I went to the city of Ufa to ask for help. In a week, work was launched in Chandar. After having dug out the slab, the researchers were struck with its size. Definitely, probably shocked. Not stroking.
Yay.
There's no stroking going on in this article, Scott. No.
One, I got, you know.
You did.
You got concealed erections. You've got stroked.
This was 1.5. This was 1.5 meters high, 106 centimeters wide. So that's over a meter wide, guys, and 16 centimeters thick. So while it weighed at least 1 ton, Now, the master of the
Whoa.
house made special wooden rollers so the slab was rolled out from the hole. The find was called the Dashka stone in honor of Alexander Shuvarov's granddaughter, born the day before, and transported to the university for investigation. It goes on and on and on. I don't want to take up the last of the show without hearing from you boys your take on this, but we could probably do a full show on this one, right?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. And so it has all these like complex carvings, and it's like a map, a relief map.
There it is there, yeah. I mean, it doesn't look like much there, but then there's one where they line it up with a map of the area, and this is actually a river. I know it's crazy, dude. It looks crazy. It looks like nothing, but there's actually a lot of information on this.
Yeah, and to see like all of those like diagonal carvings that seem to be parallel, it doesn't seem to be of a natural formation. It almost seems
weird,
like it was,
right?
Yeah, like it was intentionally chiseled or cut in that way. So yeah, that's a very, very fascinating thing. I've never
It's a new one on me, and there's one of them there. You see a bit of that, and it's meant to correspond to this here. I don't know, but it's a weird one. Whatever it is, it certainly seems a weird one, right?
Because of my experiences and how I look and see, is there possibly a conspiracy here, there, and everywhere? And I ponder, with all of these latest discoveries that are being revealed or reintroduced to the civilization, it makes me wonder why, in the whole synchronicities of everything, that is it seemingly to exponentially become more and more knowledgeable for all of us. You know, like these ancient civilizations, these prehistories, you know, past lives, you know. So as this cycle continues, you know, is this part of the grand plan, the design, that we're at this pivotal point of remembering our past? You know, that we're, you know, because of everything that's happening, whether it be the polar shift, the tilt of the earth, the alignment of the heavens and the stars, and Mercury in retrograde one more time, if that means that we might all of a sudden electromagnetically open up to a greater depth of knowledge, you know, it's a speculation. But no matter what it may be, the excitement that I find is overwhelming.
Yep.
You know, because I would not change a single thing to be right here with the two of you and the audience right now, because life is exciting. It's crazy. It's full of ups. It's full of downs, but we are all here together experiencing it. And how can that not be miraculousness?
I agree. And no, I definitely think we're entering a time to where we're essentially like rediscovering the things that we've lost, right? We're beginning to remember like our origins or who we were and all of this. And this ties into a lot of this stuff, you know. I constantly bring it up, but you know, I think it ties into our draw to go to Mars, where I think we have some kind of a we know, right? It's like we know we need to go back for whatever reason. We need to go there. And yeah, I just think we're like a lot of this quote unquote technology or whatever that I think we're rediscovering a lot of old technology. And yeah, so ooh, guys, I might have to go.
You got a storm coming?
Yeah, I hear the wind getting kind of bad.
You get going,
So-
dude. Go.
Okay.
Go.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I ain't having somebody getting like trapped in some kind of tornado thing on the show, dude. I'd feel terrible. You do what you gotta do.
All right, guys. I'm out. I love everybody.
Wow.
See you next week.
Love you too, brother. Love you too. Stay safe. Wow.
Be careful,
Wow.
Dorothy.
That was a bit weird, wasn't it, Nacy? Dang. That's the thing.
Welcome to
Scotty
our
lives
world.
in he lives in like Tornado Alley, like ish, I think. And listen, I get embarrassed because over here in Scotland we moan when it's a windy day, and we moan when it's raining. We get a bit of snow and we're moaning. People in Britain are obsessed by the bloody weather, and yet, you know, by comparison with other parts of the world, our weather's not that bad. We don't have to worry about hurricane seasons or tornadoes or snowfall that's going to like keep you in your house for weeks on end. So really, at times now I've got a greater appreciation of what goes on around the world, speaking to different people. I tell you, Nacy, everything, it puts it all in perspective, right? Especially when your co-host is running off for a tornado. Folks, we're out of here. Head on over and stay tuned for Brent Thomas coming right up after the break. Paranormal Portal. Wherever you are, make a TFR and we're out of here.
I love universe.
Hey, now I almost hung up on you there, Nacy. I must admit, it was close. I hovered and then I reminded myself. Listen, could I thank a couple of people to thank? Give me 2 seconds here. Get this right. Denise is one of them. And can I also thank Jason as well? Thank you very, very much. It's only thanks to you people out there supporting the show that we truly can keep this going. And I thank you so, so much from the bottom of my heart. Nacy, any final thoughts for the audience? Listen, I'm going to have to change the title of this show. We never even got to where we're going, brother. We'll have to talk about that next week, right? We'll get into the whole Atlantis thing next week as well. So any final thoughts before we let people head on over to the portal?
Well, it's always the journey, and it's exciting because sometimes when you go on a journey or if you follow your path, it might not be exactly what you expected, you know, but fret not if everything goes as it's supposed to. If the normalcy somewhat returns, next week we'll be back again, and hopefully you'll be here to join us. So if I may humbly ask you all to like, share, comment, subscribe, and bring somebody else with you next week, because we enjoy your participation as much as we hope you can enjoy us babbling on and every now and then becoming children because of the erections that are, or the elections, or the
that was funny.
directions.
Come on, that was priceless, dude. Can I send out
I
some?
had to mute.
Oh, dude, I
had to mute
usually,
for 3 minutes.
Yeah, usually I can hear things like that and just like distract myself. But it's the way Scotty so eloquently put it. You know, these very concealed erections. I couldn't take that and not laugh. You know?
Well, the whole time he was reading the story, the child in me I couldn't stop laughing
Once it
because there
happens,
was
did you know-
some word.
Well, you see, I've embraced that now. I like to, like, when something like that happens, I go for it. I used to kind of like try and stop myself from laughing and keep it, you know, go all professional, maybe take the camera off me. But now if something's funny, it's funny. You gotta laugh, you know. But lots of prayers and good vibes out to Scotty Lopez and everyone out there with the storm right now. But also our friend Kazzy. I think it's Kazzy in the chat room. Glasgow Kaz. Oh, she was showing us on Disco today. She got such an awful bite on her arm from a dog. She says it's just a scratch. That's how typical these Glaswegian women are. There's a chunk of flesh out of her arm, folks.
It's only a flesh wound.
She's telling me it's a scratch. I'm sitting there thinking I'd be ready to go to hospital and all sorts with that thing. But listen, Kazzy, we're thinking of you. I hope it gets well soon. And yeah, we'll be back. Well, I'll be back on Monday with more KBS. I'll be back on Sunday with Warrior Mode. And keep an eye out tomorrow because, you know, I'm starting to feel a bit better again. Well, no, because tomorrow maybe I will do something, actually, because I'll be watching the Our Alien Ancestry conference and it starts really late or really early, depending on what way you look at it. So maybe we'll do a little hour of ghostly stories, a little bit of after dark tomorrow. But like Nacy said, that's a really good idea. Try and bring one more person with you next week. Just one more person. And we'll see how it gets on. And it's only through all of you out there that we'll continue to grow. But if we don't grow, that's okay, because we're still going out on TFR, we're still going out on TalkStream Live, and most importantly, we're going out to all of you. So wherever you are, whenever you are, thank you for tuning in today. And remember, keep it real, folks. Keep it real. And keep on smiling. And I think the best way to take us out today, I'm going to read that little bit I read earlier on. Give me 2 seconds, I'll find it here. Now I have the mission to tell people of the distant past and convey the information given to me by others. This is to help bring an understanding of who and what we and you really are. So until next time, folks, keep it real and God bless. A creator bless. Source bless. Nacy, any final thoughts?
Ape gish minobimadazi wewian chi migwich gigiduo manungum. Toodles.
I like it.
Freaky Friday with the Woo Crew. They're coming to get you, Martha.
Wow, 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 wow.
Dave on the wah-wah pedal.
Wow, 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 wow.
Prince and Philip on the cowbell.
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
How dare you?
Bow, 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 bow.